Good evening. Good evening. I call to order this regular meeting of the Carrabelle City Commission. It's Thursday, August 4th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We're conducting this meeting in the Carrabelle City Hall chambers. And we'll open with a prayer by Commissioner Allen. He'll lead us in the prayer, and then I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand.
Our God and Father in heaven, we're so grateful that we have this opportunity to come together as citizens to work on the things that would be beneficial for our community and for our citizens and for our city. Give us the wisdom and understanding that we might do that which would be right in your sight and would be best for our lovely city. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus, and our Savior. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for silencing your phones. As I said before, anyone wishing to speak during our public comment section or during the discussion portion of an agenda item, you'll need to complete a speaker card and turn that into our city clerk or our city administrator. I do see a lot of people here this evening that I haven't seen for a long time. I'm glad to see you, Mr. David Adlerstein from the Apalachicola Times and other people, candidates that are running for city commissioner. We're glad to see you here. And we also have from the Appalachia Regional Planning Council representatives who are going to talk to us about a proposal here. And because of that, we didn't know till a short notice that they were coming, and they're coming from Tallahassee. I would like to request an amended agenda and move their item, which is item 6 under new business, and move their item to the position of item 3 under new business. And that will allow them to get back to Tallahassee, and they won't be here late because this is a long, long agenda. So if we could amend that agenda to move item 6 to the item 3 position, and then all other items behind that would be pushed down on the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, everybody's second. I heard Commissioner Walden. So we have Commissioner Millender to motion to amend the agenda, move item 6 to item 3 position. And then Commissioner Walden second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, so you all will be item 3. All right. So let's undertake the consent agenda, which includes the July 7th regular commission meeting, the July 12th special commission meeting minutes. We did not receive the attorney's invoices, but we may have a special meeting where we can. Oh, you did? Did everyone see the attorney's invoices?
I did.
Did you did, Commissioner
No,
Miller?
ma'am.
Oh, okay. What? Well.
We can wait till next month.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Or if we have another meeting, we'll squeeze it in there. Okay, so just the 2 meeting minutes. Did everyone have a chance to review that?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
motion to approve the consent agenda minus the attorney's
All right.
invoices.
I'll second.
Thank you. And that motion is by Commissioner Millender, second by Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right. So next we move to the public comment section. And this is where anyone can speak on anything that's on their mind. We won't take action on it. You have 3 minutes to speak. And it's for any item that's not on the agenda tonight. That was
Brown.
Commissioner Brown. So is there anyone that would like to speak under public comment? Okay. Please come forward and tell us your name for the record. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jessica Lewis. I'm a resident of Jordan Bayou neighborhood. I am here just to speak on the amount of hazardous things going on there, unlawful things going on there. We have electrical sockets that don't work. We have floors that are buckling. We have insulation that is falling from the homes. No landscaping has been done. I found out that they got state funds and haven't done landscaping. So we have many smokers. So let's just say if a smoker throws a cigarette out and this brush, and half these homes don't have fire extinguishers, what is the city gonna do when the whole neighborhood burns down and nobody can do anything about it? I did bring a neighbor friend with me to also just verify that it is hazardous. She fell and hurt her leg, and she has a lawsuit against Jordan Bayou. And this is just the first one in 6 months. We've all just moved here in February. So what's next? Because I'm dealing with harassment, retaliation. I have someone saying I can have a pool, and then they call code enforcement on me. I don't understand what's going on and why no one has taken action. I've had my sign, Clean Jordan Bayou, taken off of Airport Road in 98 by the manager today. I had to call the police to get my sign back. She's going to do anything she can to try to run us out of there. And if anyone passes and sees my house, 335 Preservation Drive, I did take down the pool, by the way. I just want to let everyone know the pool is down. And never once did I want to try to not abide by any rule. I was told that I can have it. Didn't look like the city cared about anything. I mean, the grass is this high. So why isn't anything being done? And why am I in this position to feel like I have to be ran out my home when I've never violated my lease? Never. Mm-hmm. And they send out text messages to all the residents just to add things in the lease. Why? Your job as a management company is to amend the lease, make sure everybody is okay with what it is, and make it a safe environment for everyone. Not just the people there, but the people that's gonna come in. Because if we have all these problems now and the lease is not changed, then it's gonna continue on. It's not gonna stop. Even if I take down my pool or leave my pool up and add a fence, I've made it clear that they will not let me have this pool. Even if I abide by the city ordinance, they will make sure that they run me out and harass me. Again, even though I'm not breaking the lease. Nothing about a pool or a fence in the lease. But yet, why?
Ms.
Is
Jessica,
where I'm getting to.
It's clear to see that you're upset.
I'm very
so
upset.
sorry
I'm
for you.
frustrated.
It's sad that you have to come before the city commission. And I'm going to ask the attorney to help describe to everyone the situation that's there. But I want to make everyone understand that the city of Carrabelle is not the property manager of Jordan Bayou.
Correct.
I don't even know the
It's
name.
Grill Management.
Grill Management.
Correct.
And that this is even though it doesn't have a gate on it, it's what they call a gated community. It's it's a subdivision of its own, a closed subdivision.
Correct.
And it operates under covenants, and I've not really talked to the property management out there, but I know from other gated facilities and subdivisions, they have certain covenants, guidelines, homeowners associations, whatever, and they expect their tenants to abide by that. And whatever agreement is between the tenant and the property management, that's the agreement. And
Absolutely.
You have the agreement.
I do, and we
So-
are supposed to maintain our yards,
and-
but there's
and-
no landscaping to maintain. I'm
I
sorry.
will ask Dan then, where does, and I'm sorry I didn't get your last name. Ms.
Lewis, Lewis.
Okay, Ms. Lewis.
So, yep, I'll just, Ms. Lewis, obviously, as the mayor said, I hear you're upset. What I'm listening for, obviously as a city attorney, is which issues are private contractual matters between you and the management company, you and the owners of that property, and then what would fall under the city's purview, right?
Correct.
And I understand, like, this is a public forum. You during public comment, you can certainly say your piece.
Absolutely.
But the city can't help with all the items, right?
I understand.
On there. However, I mean, the one where I guess those roads are dedicated to the city, they're not. Those are private roads. Okay. Then the vast majority of what you're describing is a private matter, right?
Including the grass, including.
The grass in common areas possibly, but they're private roads. So
Well-
if there's a code enforcement, like a nuisance type code enforcement, dangerous condition issue, then the city may be able to get involved in that, but that's it. I think of all the things you described, that was the only one that, because just as, I guess,
They,
Keisha,
yeah,
you-
they didn't want to conform to our specifications, their roads, so they didn't meet our, so they were never
right, so they
turned
didn't
over.
dedicate them to us. So it's private property. But they asked you did code enforcement on a pool?
They asked me to do the only issue she didn't have to take the pool down as far as the city's concerned. She just had to have it gated and locked because the city code requires you to have a gate and a lock on it.
Safety.
So for
Correct.
safety. So she didn't necessarily have to take the pool down per se. That's between the landlord.
Correct.
Right. So as far as any property owned out there by the association or the landlord that's not in compliance with city code, then that would be a code compliance issue that you can bring to Keisha's attention.
Okay.
But beyond that, there's not
No
much.
electrical, no one can come and inspect, and what about occupancy? Aren't there documents to say that these places are livable?
There's
Like, where
there's
are
a
they?
section and I don't want to I don't want to get this wrong. Even though
And-
I've dealt with a lot. There's a section in Florida statutes for residential tenancies, and it describes exactly what a landlord's responsibilities are for all those conditions that you described.
But the
So-
landlord isn't following their own contract.
But that's a contractual matter between you and the landlord.
Okay.
That's the thing. The city can't enforce that for you.
That's fine.
And then that would be something, maybe a civil case that she could take to a civil court?
Yes, and it's either Chapter 83 or 87 Florida statutes is what you want. 83.
83.
That's right, 83. So
Okay.
look at Chapter 83 Florida statutes.
So there's nothing that you guys can do to help us? Nothing?
What I just described. So
That's
if
it.
there's, that is it from what you described, yes.
As far as the certificates of occupancy, they hired an outside contract or inspector. They did not use the city's inspections. They used an outside, but that's also protected under the Florida statute, so they had that right. Their inspection services signed off, CO'd the building, so that might be another avenue to go, towards their inspection company because the city did not actually inspect those homes. That was a private inspector that Jordan Bayou hired.
And there's no way for me to find out. Like, it's almost hard for me to find out who the
I mean, I
owners
can
are.
tell you who did the inspection services, but the city did not pass those under the,
Under you guys,
Right.
right, I understand. Yes, ma'am.
And
Okay.
so now that I'm understanding from Ms. Keisha and the attorney and you that it's all private property out there,
Mm-hmm.
it's private. So, you say your sides of the roads, the grass is grown up. That is up to the property management to take care of that. And we can't, since that's private property and those roads are not city roads, then we don't, our crews would not come out there.
Okay,
and
I understand. Even
Okay.
if they receive government funds,
the government funds would come from the state of Florida subsidies.
so I would need to contact the state of Florida. I need to contact someone. We need help.
And we understand it, and I can't, I'm not an attorney, I can't
Okay.
tell you. I don't know, maybe you want to try to contact the property
Well,
owner?
before they build more right down the road, this one needs to be addressed. So, you guys, thank you very much.
Okay, and
Thank
thank you, good luck. All right, do we have other public comment? Okay, all right, either one of you decide which one to come first. Come up to the podium, announce yourself.
I just want to add to Jessica's anyways. My name is Crystal Watts, W-A-T-T-S.
Okay.
And the first name spelled like the glass.
Okay.
Sorry, I just get asked all the time. I'm a resident at Jordan Bayou, and yes, I do have a lawsuit against them. Within 2 weeks of me living there, there is a hole that is 12 and a half inches deep. I have pictures, and they knew about it. Well, they never come and get it cleaned up. I didn't know the hole was there because there's weeds over the hole. I fell in there, broke my leg in 3 places. I'm still dealing with issues because I have to have special wedges in my shoes now, and I'm going to have surgery on both feet because I've changed the gait of my walk. And they still won't come out and do nothing. They told me they don't have to do anything about it. Well, I've got splinters. My mother-in-law came over, went to use the hand drilling to come up the steps. Got a splinter this long in her hand. We had to dig out. Nothing is safe in there. The floors are all sagging. The windows shake. You can hear the people next door. It is just, it's a terrible mess. You can't open and shut your drawers without getting your fingers slammed because you got to do this kind of a number. I'm with Jessica. We need something done. We need help from someone. And if y'all can't give it to us, we need to know who we can go to. Who's the next person up? Who are we supposed to be contacting when they tell us we have to abide by their lease, but they don't abide by their lease, and then they just raised our rent $50 a piece? There's no reason to raise rent in a government-funded. I'm on disability. We live on $1,100 a month, my husband and I. And now I got to pay $750 in rent. Where's the money coming for the rest of my stuff? They can't just up your rent on you and tell you who cares if you're government assisted. I went down there and talked to them. They told me, well, if you don't pay, we'll give you a 3-day eviction notice. Now, how is that even correct? How is that right when you're on disability? They shouldn't be able to do that to us.
Well, Miss Crystal, I hate to hear all of this. I'm sorry you all are going through this. Honestly, I do not know who to reach out to. And I know that evidently you're not able to afford an attorney. Maybe there's a public attorney that could help. Mr. Hartman, I just do not know what to tell these people. Honest to goodness. I've never had this a situation before. I mean,
The thing is, I mean, I have
lessees.
opinions. However, this is not the place to express those. I don't
Yeah, but
think.
Yes.
I mean, from public officials, I mean, it is not, it is a contractual. You have a lease with a property owner, and I totally understand what you're saying because I've dealt with these things before as a private attorney, everything else. But you have a private attorney because you say you are in a
But
lawsuit.
he's
I mean,
only,
that's who you should be
but
talking
that's
to
only
about
an
this.
injury
But
lawyer.
but they're a lawyer, so they can certainly help you or get you to someone on these contractual issues as well.
Yeah, Mr. Hartman, would the Florida Housing Authority help these people? Is that an avenue they might be able to go to? And
It may be, meaning
Yeah.
the state, whatever state oversight
Exactly.
is over this, which I'm not sure which agency is over them.
Florida Housing Authority, it just,
Good start there.
yeah,
Yep.
start there.
or HUD, which
Well,
is
see, and that's what we were told, that it was HUD housing, but then they turn around and say, oh, no, it's not. We don't want you calling HUD. And then they won't even
Sure
give
they
us
don't.
the number to who owns the place, or even I don't know, anybody. They won't give us any phone numbers. We have to search everything for ourselves. Poor Jessica, I think she's been online probably at least a week's worth of time just trying to find out who the owners were. I mean, it's just rough. And if you guys can't do anything, at least it's on record that we've spoke about it and there is an issue out there that really does need to be taken care of.
okay. Well, we thank you very much, and I'm sorry for you. Okay, then Ms. Sharon Glaze, please come to the podium and say your name in the microphone for the record.
Hello, my name is Sharon Glaze. I just want to add one more thing about Jordan Bayou. They only have one entry door. So I understand that if you only have one entry door, then you should have a 36-inch window to escape from. Some of those houses have a lot of small children. And some of them are up on concrete blocks enough that if you throw a kid out that window, something bad is going to happen. So, I mean, is there no code enforcement that can be done as far as them making some sort of ladder system for the people that have the windows they'll need to be escaping out of?
Mr. Hartman helped me with this one too. I think that as far as the fire safety of any home is governed by the Florida Fire Marshal's office, and they might be able to give them some direction.
That's right.
And from what I can understand, the code does, it requires the either the double entry or the window and a door, but it does not refer to anything being elevated and how you would get out from there.
So it doesn't require any ladder
Doesn't
system or
require a
anything
ladder
like-
system.
Well, I mean, I would just like to point out again that my whole fight for 4 years has been over code enforcement. And if this is not the epitome of shoddiness to where you have small children that are going to be thrown out a window to escape a fire, then, you know, there's a real big problem there. Thank you all for your time.
Okay. And thank you. Thank you for your comment. Do we have any other public comment? Any other public comment, please? Okay, then we're going to move on to the commissioner's report. Commissioner Brown?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Commissioner Allen?
I have nothing.
Oh, goodness. Commissioner Walden? I have nothing tonight. Okay. Commissioner Millender?
I have none.
Okay, well, I have a report. I generally always do, and I'll try to make it quick. And I will say that I was unable to attend the July 7th commission meeting due to illness, and I was unable to officially announce the passing of Commissioner Frank Mathis, and his almost a quarter of a decade of service to his electors and to the city of Carrabelle was very important to all. And over the past 11 years, I've served with Commissioner Mathis, and there was never a dull moment. You can be sure of that. He was very colorful. Commissioner Mathis was quick to always remind us that he was born on this sand pit. And Frank Mathis was all Carrabelle. His years of service will leave a lasting impression on the city operations. Commissioner Millender has requested a proclamation recognizing Commissioner Mathis's services, which will be read later at tonight's meeting. And also on the July 7th meeting, I missed Commissioner Walden taking his oath, and I hate that. On June 21st, this board requested Mr. Walden to fill in Commissioner Mathis's vacant seat, and at that time, Commissioner Walden was already uncontested for a 2-year term beginning on November the 3rd. And Mr. Walden accepted this board's request, and he was appointed to fill the vacant seat until his regular seat begins on November the 3rd. And so now I want to officially welcome Commissioner Walden to the board. Thank you. I'm proud to serve with you again. We served together for 5 years from 2015 to 2020. And then next I want to thank Commissioner Millender for filling in for me last month by presiding over the July 7th meeting. He did a fine job. I watched it on Forgotten Coast Video. And thank you for signing city checks for 2 consecutive Mondays. That's one of the mayor's duties, is to sign payment and payroll checks every Monday. So finally, I want to advise the public and the commissioners that Florida Rural Water Association is currently conducting a water and sewer rate study, and the results should be available within the next month or so. It's been several years since the last rate study was conducted for the city of Caribel's water and sewer enterprise, so it will be interesting to learn their recommendations. And that's all I have. Thank you for listening, and I will turn this over to our city administrator. Excuse me, our city attorney. He's next.
Okay, and I have none.
Okay,
So.
you have nothing. All right. Then how about the city administrator?
Okay, did you all receive your department reports?
Yes.
I know our water and sewer report came out late, so it didn't come out until this afternoon, but do y'all have any questions? Nope. I just want to report to you all that the Harry's Bar owner has signed the sidewalk encroachment agreement, and they should be getting their fencing, the black fencing that we showed the pictures of, that should be coming in probably within a week or so. We need to schedule a general fund water and sewer workshop, budget workshop. I was looking at the 22nd, if that's good with everyone, or do y'all have another date that y'all would like?
August the 22nd
August the 22nd, it's on a Monday.
on a Monday. How is that for you, Ms. Keisha?
I always try to avoid Mondays because it's crazy trying to get workshops on Monday, but if that's the only day for everybody, that's fine for me.
What if we do it later in the day?
I would need to do it 4:30 or later.
If y'all need another day, that's fine. I know that we were doing some staff meetings the week prior to that to get ready, so I can't really do it before the 22nd.
If it's during the day, I'll be free on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Or anytime after 4:30.
Well, how late do you all want to work on the budget? I mean, this one will be, we'll be looking at now, we'll have already worked on the CRA budget, but we don't need to review the CRA budget. We'll be reviewing the airport, water and sewer, and general fund. And the airport, the CRA, we will have already completed that. The airport will be already pretty much done and reviewed by Courtney, to be presented by Courtney, so that one won't require the work like water and sewer in the general fund. We could go on the 23rd. Can you go on Tuesday on the
Anytime
23rd?
on Tuesday.
Good.
Okay.
23rd.
23rd, like in the morning at 10 o'clock or 1:30 in the afternoon?
10's good with me. You guys,
Up to the
10
pleasure.
a.m.
Okay, well, how about let's go at 10 o'clock, and
10 a.m. on the
if it seems
23rd.
like we need more time, we'll take a lunch break and come back. 23rd?
What time?
10
10.
a.m.
Okay. And then, so leave your day clear, and if we need more time, we'll take a lunch break and come back. All
At
right?
10, is that what?
10 o'clock,
10 o'clock.
August the 23rd. So what we need is, you need a motion for that?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll make a motion that we have the water sewer budget workshop on Tuesday, August 23rd at 10 a.m.
And general.
And general?
Yes.
In general.
And, okay, that motion is by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Allen. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. All right, is there anything else, Ms. Courtney?
That's all I have.
Okay, do y'all have questions for Ms. Courtney? Okay, and I do have one, and I've asked you this in your office, but I just want to know so that the attorney knows. Has Harry's Bar, they've signed their encroachment, sidewalk encroachment?
Yes, we're still waiting on their insurance information, but they have signed their encroachment agreement.
Okay, and that's an agreement for 10 months. All right, okay, so we
10
look.
months?
Yes, 10 months. And we look forward to seeing their insurance coverage where they're covering the city as well. All right, Ms. Keisha, city clerk report.
I've got some meeting dates that I want to announce. The August the 16th, as we just discussed, is our CRA budget workshop at 10 a.m. August 16th, that same day at 1:30 p.m. is our regular CRA meeting. August the 18th at 2 p.m. is our planning and zoning meeting.
August 18th?
August 18th.
Yeah, okay.
August 23rd, as we just talked about, is going to be our budget workshop at 10 a.m. Our next commission meeting at September 1st at 6 p.m. And our tentatively looking, well, I have certified the date for our budget workshop. Our first budget workshop is going to be September the 14th. I initially told some of y'all the 15th, but the county or the school board has that day, and we can't use that same day. That's going to be at 5:01, September 14th. And then the final budget hearing will be tentatively, but I'm pretty sure because of the calendar, I have very specific dates. So it'll be the 27th at 5:01, September 27th. That will be our final budget hearing.
Okay, and then earlier you said the 14th would be workshop, but you meant first budget hearing.
First budget hearing,
Okay,
yes.
First budget hearing at 5:01 on the 14th, and the second budget hearing final on the 27th at 5:01 p.m. Okay. Do we have any questions for Ms. Keisha? Okay, we thank you very much then, and we'll move on to the Inovia report.
Thank you. I have a brief report tonight on our DOT Small Communities Outreach Project. On 9th Street, the paving for that roadway is complete. They did encounter some erosion issues there with the rain we've gotten recently. So they've made some repairs, and it appears to me that the sod is beginning to hold better. So we'll keep our eye on that. The other paving projects, I do have a call into North Florida Asphalt to find out when they're mobilizing. They were supposed to mobilize about a week or so ago, and they haven't yet. And I'm sure they've been delayed with the rain also. But I think we can expect those other paving projects to begin directly. As soon as I find out a mobilization date, I'll let Keisha know, Courtney know. On our Lighthouse project, water and sewer, that project is progressing well. On our Marine Street CDBG project, still waiting for the environmental approval. Our summer camp project, we had a workshop on that prior to this meeting today. Lastly, the new Carrabelle Cemetery, I see we have an agenda item on that, so we'll discuss at that time. And that's, yes, thank you. Thank you, I will.
And all of us.
Thank you, I will.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have questions for Russell? All right, and my main question was, when was North Florida going to be mobilizing for our other 9 small projects in the CRA
Right.
district and the city project? So as long as, we're anxious for them to get done, but as long as they're done by, we want to be able to have this done and completed, the invoicing in the fiscal year.
Okay, understood, yes,
But we really don't want to wait that long.
understand.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's not far away.
I
It's
know
really
it's
not.
not far
It's really
away.
not.
Okay, all right
All
then, thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll move to the advisory board reports. We have the Caribel Waterfront Partnership. Did you have anything, Ms. Tamara? I will announce for you that they have the waterfront, they have their cleanup. I saw it September the 17th, right? Their intercoastal waterfront cleanup is on September the 17th. You meet at 8 o'clock at the pavilion? Okay, all right. All right, thank you very much. And then the elevator grant, that project has to be completed by June the 30th of 2023? Yes. Okay, the whole project, okay. We have exactly a year. All right, all right. Thank you. Thank you for your volunteer service. All right, then we'll move to the Caribel Aviation Advisory Board. Mr. Sullivan, did you have anything in particular that you needed to mention?
No, just make sure everybody understands the resolution tonight.
Okay, and that you have described in there that the original resolution called for the description of the project to change, but it did not include the money transfer. And tonight's resolution calls for the money from the first project to be transferred to the new project. And this is an FDOT resolution that they wrote and submitted. Okay. All right. And all of these reports, the department reports and these advisory board reports are available from the clerk's office if you want to see these in hard copy.
And I did have a question for Mr. Sullivan.
Okay.
Did you want to appoint a new member tonight?
Yes, if we could,
We had a vacancy on our airport advisory board, and we did advertise for people to submit requests that wanted to be a member of that board, and we received one.
we received one as Bruce Graham. He's been attending some of our meetings. He's AOPA representative and a FAST team, it's a FAA safety program representative, and he's the only one that's submitted, so we'd like to appoint him to replace Sam Eads.
All right.
Graham, Bruce Graham.
Graham, and Bruce. And Sam Eads moved back to Georgia.
Right.
And so they're looking to have, you've advertised as you've always done, and you have Mr. Graham, which you all are familiar because he does attend your meetings.
Yes.
So do we want to entertain this appointment?
A motion to approve Mr. Sullivan's recommendation to the board.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, do we have any other discussion? Okay, so Commissioner Millender has motioned to approve Mr. Sullivan's recommendation for Bruce Graham as the new Carrabelle Aviation Advisory Board member, and that's second by Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ken.
And thank you for your volunteer service. And then do we have any, did the Carrabelle Lighthouse Association submit a report this month? Okay. And then last month, I believe I saw on the video that they wanted, you requested a memo of understanding with them, and that Mr. Hartman was going to complete that regarding. We haven't done that yet. And I would suggest in that memo that that they get they're going to apply for a grant, infrastructure grant from the TDC, and that has to be approved before they can start any work on that project. I would request that they get that approved first before the city fronts money for any of their work. And we want to see that, you know, well, it's a verbal approval. They don't have, you know, they don't have any written approvals. But we'll get Mr. John Solomon to write something, and we'll have an agreement. And I think they're asking, at the TDC, they're asking for these projects to be completed by the fiscal year. So that.
I'll make sure that they know
Okay.
that.
All right.
Ms. Tamara can make sure that they know that.
I wrote that down.
Okay.
Is that June or?
Their fiscal year is the same as ours, September, so I'm not sure how that's working. All right, on the Lighthouse grant, but this is on the TDC's budget again next year, these infrastructure grants. All right, anything else then? Okay, we'll move on to public hearing, and we have resolution 032022, and Mr. Hartman, would you read that for us?
Sure. So the City of Caribel Resolution 02-2022, a resolution authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute a change in description to a public transportation grant agreement, project number 425610-4, with the Florida Department of Transportation, provide 100% grant funding from Carrabelle Thompson Airport stormwater upgrades by parallel drain project to the environmental permitting and mitigation for taxiway and hangar development. Whereas the City of Carrabelle agrees to change the description of the project number 425610-4 from the Carrabelle Thompson Airport stormwater upgrades by parallel drain to environmental permitting and mitigation for taxiway and hangar development. Whereas the City of Carrabelle needs 100% grant funding to mitigate the wetlands present on the site in order to initiate site work of the new taxiway and hangar facilities. Whereas the Carrabelle City Commission wishes to take advantage of the generous offer of the Florida Department of Transportation to provide 100% of the funding to make these needed improvements to the Carrabelle Thompson Airport. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission.
That's the wrong one.
That's the old one.
I'm gonna send it to you, so, sorry.
I was
Okay.
a little confused.
So Dan will be able to read it tonight, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sending it to him now, I just was
He said
trying.
02, mine says 03.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. That was my fault. That was my fault.
I got a little more left in it.
Yes.
I'll get it.
Well, thank you for catching it.
You need to earn your money.
All right.
If y'all want to do the ordinance until that
Or the
comes to him, or proclamation, and then come back to that.
Okay. All right, so what we have next then is the proclamation requested by Commissioner Millender, and Ms. Courtney wrote it, and so since Ms. Courtney wrote this proclamation, I've asked her to read it.
I'm not as fast as Dan. Proclamation 01-2022, a proclamation of appreciation acknowledging the service of Carrabelle City Commissioner Franklin Mathis. Whereas the City of Carrabelle was fortunate to have a dedicated commissioner, Franklin Mathis, who served the citizens of Carrabelle as commissioner for a period of nearly 25 years, and whereas during nearly quarter of a century of service to the City of Carrabelle, Franklin Mathis successfully and effectively performed duties required of him. He demonstrated commitment and service to the people of Carrabelle. And whereas we, the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle, wish to extend our utmost appreciation for service that Franklin Mathis did to make our city a better place. Whereas Commissioner Franklin Mathis passed away on June 7th, 2022, while continuing to serve the citizens of Carrabelle, and now therefore be it proclaimed that the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle does hereby publicly acknowledge and recognize Franklin Mathis for nearly a quarter century of dedicated and diligent service to the citizens of Carrabelle. Adopted by the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle, Florida, on this 4th day of August 2022.
That's
Hear,
very
hear.
nice. Thank you.
That is fantastic.
And
Yes.
we don't take action on a proclamation, I don't believe. Okay. But did you have a place on there for us to sign?
I have a place for all of the
Yes.
commissioners to sign.
And pass
All
on
right,
to, yeah.
okay. Well, thank you, Courtney, and thank you for
Courtney.
writing that. And thank you for thinking of asking for a proclamation. Okay, then, we'll move back to the resolution 032022.
All right, let me give it another shot.
Okay.
City of Carrabelle Resolution 03-2022 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute a transfer of funding of a public transportation grant agreement from Project 425610-4, Design Stormwater Upgrades for Parallel Drain, to 423905-5, Environmental Design and Site Work for Taxiways and Hangars, with the Florida Department of Transportation provide 100% grant funding. Whereas the City of Carrabelle agrees to move fiscal year 2023 funds in the amount of $100,000 from Project 425-610-4, Design Stormwater Upgrades by Parallel Drain, to 423-905-5, Environmental Design and Site Work for Taxiways and Hangars. Whereas the City of Carrabelle needs 100% grant funding to mitigate the wetlands present on site in order to initiate site work of the new taxiway and hangar facilities. Whereas the Carrabelle City Commission wishes to take advantage of the generous offer of the Florida Department of Transportation to provide 100% of the funding to make these needed improvements to the Carrabelle-Thompson Airport. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle, Florida, assembled in regular meeting on July 7, 2022, that the mayor be and she is hereby authorized and directed to negotiate and execute a public transportation grant agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation, a document necessary to receive funding from the Florida Department of Transportation as follows. Florida Department of Transportation participation 100%, $100,000. City of Carrabelle participation 0%, $0. Total project cost $100,000. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be attached to the public transportation grant agreement between the City of Carrabelle and the Florida Department of Transportation when fully executed.
All right, then, and we've had an explanation on this from Mr. Sullivan's report, and do we have any questions, or we want to entertain a motion on this one?
A motion to approve resolution 032022 as read by the attorney.
All right,
Second.
okay. All right, and that motion then to approve this resolution is by Commissioner Millender, second by Commissioner Allen. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Then we have one more, and this is a first reading only, so there will be no action on this. And Mr. Hartman, would you read this first reading of this ordinance 486?
Sure. This is Ordinance 486. It's an ordinance of the City of Carrabelle amending and modifying the terms and conditions of Ordinance 328, also known as the Sunset Island Yacht Club Ordinance, providing for additional permitted uses of the property, repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith to the extent of such conflict, and establishing an effective date. And this ordinance simply allows for lot owners of adjacent lots to build essentially a duplex structure on the center of the two lots, and basically combine lots and do 2 units on those combined lots.
Okay, and I will ask, we can ask, we're not taking public comment, we're not taking action on this right now, but I would like to ask, this went to the P&Z?
Yes, this went to P&Z. It was, no, I'm sorry, it did go to P&Z.
Yes.
It went to P&Z. It was twice. It recommended for approval, and we received a letter, basically from the Homeowners Association, that basically was approval of the concept, at least for the city to move ahead with the ordinance amendment.
So you have heard from the majority of the property
We have a
owners?
bunch of them sitting there right over here.
Okay.
I have the letter from the Homeowners Association, but I did just today, and here's the letter.
Okay, and I'm just wanting to make sure that this is something that the homeowners association wants, that the majority of the people.
Mr. Scott, do you want to come up?
Do you want me to read the letter? It's
Yeah,
really
that'd be
short.
fine. Read the letter.
Please let this letter serve as written confirmation that the Board of Directors of Sunset Isle and Caribel, Florida has been directed by unanimous vote of the homeowners present at a duly called meeting to pursue their ability to construct single-family attached residential structures in the form of a duplex on 2 adjoining lots. Any duplex constructed must be located on contiguous lots in a shared property line. And that was signed by Scott Groen, the president.
Okay, and please let the record show, since we can't see them, they're in the audience, but a fairly large group is in the audience from the homeowners association, all nodding their head yes. Is that correct or not?
I do have to add that I did get an email today from a Mike Murphy that is, he is opposed. So
Okay.
I had to let him know that I would let y'all know that.
Yes, and is Mr. Murphy a property owner out there?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think he owns an Paris land.
All right,
It just come in through the website, so I just.
okay. Well, this is just.
I think he received the letter in the beginning. It was sent out as a special exception, and so the letters were sent out 250 feet like we normally do. So I believe he got one of those letters.
Okay.
And
I think I did speak with him. We know, we call him Murph, and I think I spoke with him, and he didn't understand the situation.
I was trying to explain to him because he keeps calling it a rezoning, and it's not a rezoning, so.
All right, okay, well, we can't take action. We'll have this on next month's agenda where we will take action, but I appreciate all the information that you all have provided us. All right, then we'll move on to our quasi-judicial hearing, and I will now convene our quasi-judicial hearing. And the item 1, the only item under this portion of the meeting, is to approve or disapprove the final site plan for 1001 Gray Avenue, which is New River Landing, which is going to be constructed at the old City Hall site. Okay. All right. I'm just waiting for they're kind of discussing back there. Okay. Thank you, Chief. Okay, so did everyone hear that item, or do I need to read that again? We have that item, and I just need to say briefly that we approved the preliminary site plan on September the 3rd, 2020. And at the late July of 2021, the developer contacted myself and Ms. Keisha, and he said that due to skyrocketing prices, that construction costs, that he would like to propose a 2 or 3 story unit garden style apartments instead of single family buildings. And he was told that he would need to bring that to the commission, and that it could be possibly rezoning, and that would be up, the city attorney would have to decide that. And it looked like at one point we were going to, on September the 2nd, 2021, approve an extension of the purchase sales agreement, which we did. But he was at that time going to come and present and bring all of this information to the commission, but he said remove that portion of his presentation from the agenda, so that was never brought forth. But I just wanted to let you know that did happen back in July of 2021. And so today we have before us this disapprove of this final site plan for 1001 Gray Avenue. And I believe that you had some recommendations, conditions, excuse me.
That's correct.
Okay.
We're recommending approval with the conditions being receipt of permits from the Water Management District and DEP for stormwater and water and sewer.
And
Okay,
Russell,
so that's-
otherwise the final site plan meets all the city's code criteria?
Yes, it does.
And just add that we will not be taking over them roads either.
Is this a private so-called gated subdivision?
It is a private subdivision. Let me correct that. It's a private development. There is no subdivision occurring.
Nothing's being subdivided. It will be one big
A
property.
private development,
Yes.
excuse me, private development. All conditions are met, otherwise, that you said otherwise, that you want to see their permits from the Northwest Florida Water Management District and from the DEP for stormwater and water and sewer before this, if we were to approve this final site plan, before the approval really is adopted, you need to see
That's correct.
all of this
That's right.
information. Otherwise, everything else is in order.
Yes.
And this is a private development.
Right.
It was recommended unanimously through P&Z.
All right. Does everyone understand that? Do we have questions?
I was just hesitating. Yeah, I do, but not.
Okay, so if I can't say, we haven't approved it or disapproved it, but if we, it's hard to talk when you can't talk.
I will add that we did go back after the last Jordan Bayou and changed our resolution, our fees, so that chances are they will have to use our inspector unless they just want to pay outrageous fees to get around that. So, because they will be still paying the city 70% of the fees regardless if they use us or not. So hopefully that'll deter them from using the other company that they used last time.
I would just like to see them come before us and just to have some discussion, not necessarily for them to meet all the requirements that they have thus far met, that our clerk has said that they met. Just some general discussion about the future. Anyway, and I won't go any further than that tonight, but that's just my opinion. But if we need to move forward, and I do agree with P&Z from what I've looked at and what our city clerk had and building official has said and what we've done over the last times, a year or so that the mayor has described or better, I will make a motion that we approve with
Commissioner Miller, sorry. If there is any public input, we would take that at this time before taking action on it.
excuse me?
All right, thank you.
Sorry, public input
Before?
Yeah. Okay.
before you all take action.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
You're right.
And is there any other condition that we can put, or Commissioner Millender has asked to see, have the developer present? Is that something we can request, or is that, am I asking that question?
We
Can
can
I ask
request
that?
it, but we can't necessarily make it a condition of site plan approval.
Okay.
The
all right.
conditions
Guess
for
that's-
site plan approval are laid out in the code, and that's, obviously, you all can review everything and ask questions of staff, applicant, public, that sort of thing, but obviously we have to rely on our very competent engineer here.
Well-
And he has said that it meets, the site plan meets the code criteria.
The site plan meets the code criteria.
Yeah,
All right.
basically, Mayor, that's what I was trying to convey, is, I don't want to question any of their legality, but I would like to have some, if you will, interaction, some discussion, and talk about the future, and that's it.
But we can't make that a condition of.
That's correct, that's correct, yes.
Okay, it's so hard to ask a question
Yeah.
when we don't know what we can ask.
Well, I guess
without-
basically what I'm going to do is voice some concerns.
Yeah, you
Site
can ask
plan
any question you
related.
want
Yeah.
about the site plan.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
As far as the construction.
Exactly.
Not the site plan.
yeah.
Then, okay, let me ask the public. Does the public have comment on this at this time? Yes, say your name, please, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Vance Patrick. My only question, the city's not taking control of the road because they're not being made, they're not being built into the specifications the city wants. Is that something that the city can require them to do? If not, you're gonna get another road in the middle of Carrabelle that you cannot code enforce, or you cannot enforce anything down because it is a private road. So they'll build a subdivision, but it's not, because it's all on one lot. So they get past the lot size limits and a whole lot of things, which is going to give the city a whole lot less that they can do if problems occur. Thank you.
Can that be a condition that they go back and build the roads to specifications and that the city would accept those roads?
In order to do that, we would have to define the right-of-way, and that would involve a subdivision at that point, because the road would have to be dedicated to the city. So that would require a subdivision, which changes the nature of the application.
And think of this, and this is a little bit confusing because it looks like a subdivision, right? You have individual homes spaced out on, I guess, dimensional lots out there, but it's not being subdivided into lots. It's more like I'm thinking of bigger cities, but where you have a sprawling apartment complex or a sprawling bunch of townhomes that are, once you pull into that parking lot, even though there's internal roads, they're all private. They're all the responsibility of and we heard some complaints about, but the management company, the owner of the land. So those do not need to meet, they need to meet minimum requirements in our code, but not the same requirements of like DOT and the roads that we would accept and then start maintaining ourselves. We're not in charge with any maintenance, therefore they have the option of building them to still our standards, but they're not roadworthy standards.
Yeah, I was going to make. Thank you. I was going to make that point as well. The pavement section is similar to the city of Caribel's requirement. So there is compaction requirement on the subgrade and the base and asphalt, and all that is specified in the plans currently. The only difference is that the maintenance is up to the property owner. They did approach the city early on, actually, to take over ownership of the roadways, and the city opted to not do that.
I remember that.
Know, how much I just I don't know if what has been discussed in public comment, if there's an issue, don't know if it's with the developer or if it's with the management company. We don't know these. I mean, there's things going on that we don't know that's causing whatever's going on out there at Jordan Bayou.
Looking at me, but at the site plan. So we're at the site plan stage, and so that's what you have before you and have to make a decision on. So, yeah.
And the site plan, as Mr. Russell says, meets all of the land development codes. It's all in order. But before we would allow it to be fully adopted, that the city would need to be in receipt of the permits from the Water Management District and from the DEP for stormwater permits and water and sewer permits.
And Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, they don't have to approve it with conditions. They can wait till they come back. They actually, if they just need more time.
Well, again,
because they don't have everything.
Well, I sort of defer to Russell on this, but site plan, I mean, are you saying it would be tabling it or
And
pushing
tabling it until they do get their permits.
I mean, that is on the list of things they must have for site plan approval. I mean, sometimes that could come later.
It is, and this would be a question back to Dan, I think. but if I mean, if that's the action from the board, does that establish a precedent now? Moving, I mean, I know
Well,
that,
that's the
I
only
know
thing
that
is we typically do, you know.
approval with condition is
conditional.
common.
That was just the thought.
So if they don't do it in this case, does that cause an issue? I mean, it's just a question.
Well, and going back and forth here, talking before the meeting, is receipt of those permits. I mean, we have further stages where they get construction plans, they get, these different things. Are those permits, if our approval is conditioned upon receipt of those permits, then they cannot move forward until they get those permits.
That's right.
And they certainly can't move forward with construction or anything. I mean, Keisha would not, as a building, the building official would not permit them to begin construction without demonstrating they got water, sewer, stormwater, that sort of thing. So, and I'm thinking of a recent case, but we're looking at the stormwater design. Have they submitted the stormwater design?
Yes.
Okay, and you've looked at that, and that meets the
Yes.
criteria. So I think your recommendation is the appropriate one, that it's approval conditioned upon receipt of those permits. So they're not receiving just a blanket approval tonight. They have to get those permits. But again, you're saying you don't see a reason they wouldn't get them. They've performed the design. The design complies with our code, and it's a matter of processing through the state at this point. So.
And so for those that I see like questioning, faces and all, that don't understand why we seem like we're not speaking and talking like we have in the other agenda items, is that this is quasi-judicial and we really can't say what we think or what our opinion is until a motion and a second has been made. Then during discussion in a quasi-judicial situation, then we can say or ask more in-depth questions or say what our opinion is. So we're just kind of in limbo. We have to weigh all of the credible, substantial evidence that is brought forth from our professional engineer and city attorney. They tell us what they recommend and what the planning and zoning recommended, and then we can only use that information regarding the site plan. We can't take subjective information or opinionated type information that's not related to the site plan to make this decision. Yes, ma'am, please come forward. And that's all outlined by Florida statute, so we're doing the best we can.
I'm not going to pretend I know anything, because I don't know anything, but my question is, I mean, you're talking about like doing it with conditions or without conditions, but we're all like little children. So if you don't include the conditions in there, then, and you go ahead and approve it without the conditions, what if they don't meet the conditions that you're expecting them to meet because they're adults?
They will. They can't. Mr. Hartman has just explained that if they do not provide these permits that is required by law, they cannot move forward.
Okay. It's a iffy thing because we see the condition of everything on the roads now. It's a scary thing.
Well, they won't be given building permits if they don't have these items. Is that correct? They can't get a building permit.
That's correct. They don't get to start construction.
No development order until they have all of this that's being required. Under
I
the
get to be the
conditions.
bad guy.
It's
All right. So, do we want to? Are we wanting to make a motion, or would like to table this for further consideration? I beg your pardon?
I think we could probably motion on it. Is there
Well, do you-
any more information we need to get?
I don't know of any other information regarding the site plan. It was sent out to all of us to review. We had the opportunity to ask questions of staff. We've seen this, we've looked at the preliminary site plan. It looked pretty much the same as this. We've seen this has been brought to us, I think it's been ongoing since 2019. It was, you've already approved the preliminary, I believe, Mr. Keith, so.
I don't know what we would gain by tabling it. And I've already said I do have some, and I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion where we can have discussion, Mayor. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve, with conditions that our engineer has described that has to be met.
I'll second.
Okay, so that motion is by Commissioner Melander to approve with the conditions outlined by the city engineer, second by Commissioner Brown. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The only thing I can say is the way I want to put it, and I hope I do it right, especially after I've heard public input tonight. I would like to convey, if you will, some concerns to the builder, landowner, and that's the reason why I was just asking. We can't demand anything, but we can have some, if you will, communications, two-way communications with them, and ask them to come and see us, and where we can share concerns. And I'm assuming, Mr. Attorney, you looking at me, that's legal for us to do that?
Yes.
Okay. And that's all I had, Mayor.
All right. I don't know, Mr. Hartman, should we, once we take care of this motion, maybe have a motion where we direct you to contact the developer, landowner, and request that he and his representatives come and meet with us? We'll have an agenda item so we can express our concerns, or?
You can certainly request that. Yep.
Certainly request it, okay.
You know, yeah. I mean, obviously, you can just direct me. I can contact. I'll go through my contacts. Or I can contact the developer. I can tell him that. I can tell him about the public comment issues and the issues that were raised, and that it would be a good idea for him to come and or somehow attend electronically or personally,
Okay.
and address that.
All right. All right, so we have, we're still in discussion. Is there any public discussion on this motion? All right, are we ready to vote then? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and then that motion carries, and that's to approve with the conditions outlined by Mr. Large. And so then, what I believe that we're agreeing in principle, unless someone wants to make a motion, that we're going to direct Mr. Hartman to contact the owner developer and ask him to make arrangements, if at all possible, to be on our September agenda to come and speak with us in person or electronically, so that we can express some of our concerns, and that the public might have an opportunity to civilly express their concerns as well. Okay?
Very good.
All right, we
do it.
agree in principle to direct? Okay, then.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. And there are no further items on this quasi-judicial hearing, so that is adjourned. Guess what? We move to new business, and it's presentation of our September 30th, 2021 financial statements from James Moore accounting firm. And we have Mr. Mark Payne. It's always a pleasure to see you, and he's going to tell us about our finances here for the fiscal year of 2021.
Good seeing everyone. Also have Chris Salick, the manager, on your job this last year. I'll be short and I'll be brief. I know everybody's got a lot to do. If you guys have got your audit, we actually have 2 audits before you. Hopefully, Keisha, I'm going to go over real highlight stuff, if I may. because to go through this, we'd be here the rest of the night.
But be sure to tell me the page number. You know,
I will.
I've
Sure, I
got mine
will.
highlighted
Absolutely.
as well. Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me. So I think the biggest thing is on page 1 and page 2 of the independent auditor's report for the city of Carrabelle for September 30, 2021. Basically, this report says these financial statements are materially correct. It also states that the financial statements is the council's responsibility. My responsibility is to express an opinion on your financial statements. That's kind of what the report says, if you would, in a nutshell. Everything's fairly stated. I think the things to highlight would be on page 11, which is the statement of position, which basically lists all the assets, all the liabilities, and residual equity for the city for the year end. At the end of the day, you had, and I'm going to use rounded numbers because, yeah. So we ended total assets $53 million. Total equity position for the city is right at $46 million. The majority of that, about $42 million, is tied up in property, plant, and equipment. That's probably the highlight there you need to note. The other thing I would point out is on page 12, had to look at my notes there. At the end of the day, you have the statement of activities. I think the biggest thing to point out is your governmental funds ended the year with $130,000 in the black, which is good. The proprietary funds, your water sewer fund, that type of thing, ended up in the red, 1.2 million. However, and I always say this, we had right at $2 million of depreciation. So we got pipe in the ground, we got towers. We're writing this stuff off over like 40 or 50 years. So this is nothing coming out of your cash reserve. So when you take the loss and you add back depreciation, you really made about $700,000. That's the way I like to look at it. The other thing to look at is on page 15. And the thing I wanted to show you here is specifically the Special Revenue Fund, the CRA. If you'll notice, the CRA is sitting here with about $444,000 of equity. The thing to note too, you guys have done a great job paying that loan back, if you would, from the general fund to the CRA. And I don't know where the balance is right now. It was
Zero.
Zero.
Uh-huh,
let's do a freaking
I
party.
know it.
Congratulations on that. Okay,
That was I want to tell everyone they don't know, but it was a $1.6 million that the city owed to the general fund, owed to the special revenue fund. And we started paying that off in 2014, and we made the last payment was in
Good for
May
you.
of this year.
Good for you.
And I'm so happy
Oh, absolutely.
with all the commission agreeing to do this and the staff, and it's just a wonderful thing.
Congratulations. The other thing I wanted to point out on page 29 and page 30, just wanted to make you aware that, you know, there's some debt on the books. I don't know, $5 million. I know years ago, the mayor went out and got a tremendous amount of debt taken off the books and forgiven, if you'll recall. I know you worked hard on that.
I recall it was $28 million.
It was $28 million. You did really, really well with that. But page 29 and page 30 is the debt we have, low interest rates. I just wanted to make you aware of that. The other thing I wanted to let you see was on page 52, 53, and I'll let you flip there if you want to, but these are basically, because of the size of your city, we make adjustments to your books. We draft your financial statements. Because city staff is very small, it's hard to maintain segregation of duties. So just, you know, be aware of that. You've paid off your CRA, so that finding will actually come out next year. The one thing I would point out too, and I know we've talked about this, Courtney, is there's a sinking fund requirement. You fixed it too. Y'all fixing everything.
We
Y'all are
fixed
just
that.
freaking awesome.
We'll be signing the check on Monday.
Well, good, good. The other thing I wanted to point out was on page 55, and this is an easy thing to fix in my mind. There's a lot of receivables out there as we've set up allowance for doubtful accounts, but you guys just need to formally approve the write-off of all these old old utility receivables. Just want to point that out to you as well.
And that was a finding last year as well, and we are having a difficult time coming up with some type of a formula that we feel like would be fair to write off these receivables because it's a small community, and
Right.
with all due respect, many of them are family. I mean, because we're all family.
Sure.
And so it's
It's
difficult to come up.
I just wanted you to be aware of it. That was the
Okay,
biggest
but we
thing.
want to, I've talked with our water and sewer superintendent and Ms. Courtney, and we're gonna get this off here because we have really brought down our findings
Right.
in the
You
past
have
couple of
done a great
years.
job.
And we want to, this is something simple, it's not gonna cost us money, so
Right.
we need to just take care of it.
That is exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the audit. The other thing, because if you have this, I'll call it the skinny audit, if you would, the CRA audit, because, and these numbers are rolled up into your city financials, but because you guys spent more than $100,000, we're required to actually go in there and issue a report on the CRA. At the end of the day, the opinion's clean, everything is fairly stated. I think that's probably the thing to be aware of. The last thing I'll talk about, and these letters are basically one's to the, I can't see, one's to the city council, one's to the governing board, CRA, if you would. The only thing to point out with these, excuse me, is here again, there are estimates in the financial statements. To our knowledge, staff didn't consult with any other CPA firms about any accounting issues. We had no problems when we dealt with your staff, just wanted you to be aware of that. Also in here summarizes the adjustments that we had. But lastly, there's a representation letter signed by staff, basically opining to everything that they told us was correct. So I think you had a really good year as far as the audit is concerned. Congratulations. And I think next year will be better.
Good,
All right, okay, we thank you. And just, I don't have questions, but I've made a lot of notes, and for the record, public record, I just wanted to go over right quick to let folks know that the city contributes to the Florida Retirement Service, is that what it's called? Florida Retirement System.
System, there you go.
Because I'm in it and I have about $4,000 in there because I make so little. But otherwise, the city contributes last fiscal year 2021, $110,998 to this employees' retirement, and the employees in the same year contributed $25,000. So that's a good benefit for the employees, and I'd just like to let the public know. And I want to let the public know also on our long-term debt, we have a loan for this building here with Centennial Bank. It's a 20-year loan, 3.94%, and at the 10-year mark, we can pay that out or refinance it. And then we have a 1.34% loan that's, I believe, $83,000 is still due on that, and that's planning, and that's a new loan that we just took out, planning and design for the water expansion on Lighthouse Estates. And we were presented with numbers that the base rates there, the water base rates there will fund this debt service on this one. And then we have a 1.54% loan to pay off the wastewater treatment plant. And then that's collateralized with water and sewer revenues, a 2.7 loan to pay off the Carrabelle water treatment plant, also collateralized by water and sewer revenues, and a 2.7% loan to pay off the Lanark water treatment plant. These water treatment plants had to be constructed because we were being fined with having disinfection byproducts, and so we had to construct. This was about in 2006, 7, 8, somewhere in there. And so these loans were undertaken to construct these treatment plants. So that's it. That's all the loans this city has for now. So that's all I have to say. I'm real proud of staff to bring down these findings like they have over the past year, 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we'll knock off a couple more. Well, we have already.
There
Well,
you
the
go.
CRA's knocked off.
Absolutely.
The receives will be knocked off, and we've already
sinking fund, you've already
made our
taken care of
payment to
that.
the sinking fund.
So you're probably down to 2. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. That's actually
Okay.
outstanding, just so you'll know. Yeah. Congratulations.
All right, and thank you. It's a pleasure
That's all
to
we
see
have
you.
then. Good seeing
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you, and thank you all for answering our questions throughout the year. Okay.
Good night, Joe.
Okay, the next we have is another presentation by Kimley Horn Associates, and they're going to provide us an update with the state environmental impact for the proposed improvements at the Carrabelle Thompson Airport.
Alrighty, good evening, everybody. Mayor.
Hello,
Commissioner,
nice to see you.
Thank you for having us this evening. So we're here to provide, and we've got a little brief slideshow, and we'll keep it brief, much like everyone else. We know y'all got a lot on your agenda tonight. It's been a good discussion to be a part of. So my name's Connor Chambliss, and this is Lindsay Slaughterback, and we're with Kimley Horn, and we are the consultant for the airport. So we want to talk to you about a project we have going on at the airport for a new taxiway design and construction. And right now we're in the environmental stage for the state environmental impact report that we're performing for the Department of Transportation. I'll give it just 1 minute for this to load. Excellent. All righty. Thank you. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. So the State Environmental Impact Report, we're essentially evaluating the environmental effects of the project. It's a new taxiway, new asphalt taxiway that's on the northeast end of the runway, and which leads to a future hangar area that's further to the northeast. And this was identified in the master plan and the airport layout plan that was conducted several years back as one of the top priorities for alternatives for future development at the airport. This will lead to efficient and safety out there on the runway since there's only one single connection right now, and as well as future revenues from the future hangar facilities once constructed. We can go to the next slide.
So Connor already briefly touched on what a SEER is, but it's pretty much required by the Department of Transportation for any construction project related to transportation. So this project qualifies, and so we've been working on looking at the environmental impacts of this project. So we've been stomping around out there. We've seen a lot of Tim, Courtney, Mayor La Paz. So basically, this document is made up of several technical reports, and we'll go over it briefly, but it's basically an environmental phase and then an engineering analysis as well. And then they're kind of married together. So for the environmental analysis, there's the technical reports. So we've done the wetlands evaluations report, which found that there were some impacts to wetlands, which was those funds that you all approved earlier this evening. We did the cultural resources assessment last week. The report's being tied up now. Nothing was found out there. There's also some species surveys going on, and then a contamination screening, and then we'll button that all up to a final document that goes in this year.
Alrighty, and on the engineering side, there will be a preliminary engineering report. So we'll be investigating some of the things such as the soil conditions, drainage conditions, some of the more finer details, and making sure that it's designed in accordance with Federal Aviation Administration standards, as well as the Florida Department of Transportation standards, and just making sure that we've essentially got ourselves a good design as we move this from the environmental phase to the engineering phase. As part of this, we'll be doing some geotechnical survey to understand those soil conditions. That's currently ongoing out at the airport right now. And as Lindsay mentioned, the cultural resource assessment as well, and the listed species surveys.
So another big piece of this is public involvement, so that's why we're here right now, and we'll be back 2 more times this year, I believe in October and December. Then there will be a public hearing for the public to come and see what we've collected, and I think comment on the report, and we're planning to do that in November, and it will be properly noticed at least 30 days before.
You said the public hearing will be noticed 30 days before.
At least.
Okay, in the newspaper and places like that, okay.
Alrighty, so this is our initial time presenting. So, we've got some work to do still. So looking out in the horizon, we're continuing to finalize the reports and the field work, and on the environmental side and the engineering side. And as Lindsay mentioned, we've got some public hearings tentatively scheduled for November 2022 this year. And then once we get the SEER all buttoned up, then we'll be proceeding with design and ultimately leading into the construction of these facilities. One thing I did want to note is that the design is intended to be a multi-phase design to where we can get the funds appropriated for the taxiways that will lead to the hangars to follow after that. So just one distinction there. But that's really all we had. We wanted to keep it short and brief and take any questions at this time.
Okay, well, we thank you. Do we have questions? I've heard it and read it so much. I understand it myself, and Courtney, I know she does.
I think Tim could recite it.
Yeah. Yeah, Courtney and I are even in that picture there.
That's right.
Yeah, we put that in there for brownie
And I'm
points.
trying to see Tim. I don't see him, but I see Zach.
He's there, the green shirt.
He's
Okay.
in the weeds.
Okay. And Tim, do you have questions or something that you could ask that would help the public to understand?
No, it's just, the only thing I would say is that this is phase one of the master plan,
Mhm.
which Kinley Horn had just completed last year or year before. And this will lead up to the phase two, which will be adding the development out there. So doing all this preliminary work will make it a lot easier for once construction starts, we'll be going right along as long as the money comes in.
Okay. And I know that Kimley Horn works closely with the DOT, and we just want to make sure that District 3 understands, or we know they understand that construction prices are skyrocketing. And we know that money is already allocated for this project in a 5-year plan. If there's any extra money anywhere, you know, because I'm afraid we're not going to be able to build as many hangars as planned. You know,
it's a
just
challenge that they're facing across the state, so they're certainly aware of it in frequent conversations.
okay, and we want to get as many hangars as we can at the airport because hangars are what makes that airport self-sufficient. And right now, it's self-sufficient, hanging on by a thread there. But it doesn't cost the taxpayers money. And because we have one of the main reasons we have a volunteer board helping Ms. Courtney to manage the airport. But a few more hangars would allow us to get a part-time manager or superintendent out there, which would help us in the future. But as we're depending on volunteer professionals right now to help us. So, okay.
So the taxiway is the way that you get out before you take off then, rather than use the regular.
Right now, without the taxiway, if you take off in the opposite direction, you have to taxi down the runway. It's a safety hazard in any airport.
Yeah, okay.
That's why there's always a parallel taxiway. But with the increase in traffic with the development, the first safety first, the taxiway has to come first to handle the load of the airplane that will be coming into the new development.
And that takes the taxiing off the main runway too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So right now you call this a taxi back runway? Is that taxi back runway because there's only one runway out there, and when they land and they have to taxi back, and it's dangerous if in the event that there's another aircraft coming in or wanting to come in.
One way, they're landing the opposite.
And it's particularly dangerous in bad weather, foggy, cloudy weather.
Thank y'all for your time.
Okay, we thank
Thank
you.
y'all.
Good to see you, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time, next 3 months, I guess.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so then we have one more presentation by the Appalachia Regional Planning Council, and then to approve hiring a police officer, and I would suggest after that we take a recess. All right, so item 3. Approve, disapprove city sponsorship of a grant for a vulnerability study conducted by the Appalachia Regional Planning Council. And we have our good friends from the Appalachia Regional Planning Council. I'm glad to see y'all. Just to introduce yourself, sir.
Hey there, Josh Adams with ARPC. Wasn't sure if this would have been a consent item or not, so I don't have a presentation prepared, but I can speak broadly just real quick. So Courtney mentioned that the city of Carrabelle was interested in conducting a vulnerability assessment that is in compliance with DEP's new resiliency statute. I think it's 380.092. That being said, we were approached by DEP, actually. We had our own grant in the works. They said, could you expand upon that? We really want all the municipalities throughout the state of Florida to be compliant with the new statute so that in the future that box can be checked for distribution of any kind of funding that might be tied to that statute. So we met with staff, we're still finalizing a financial and work plan to go along with it. That should be wrapped up the next week or two here and going back and forth with the Department of Environmental Protection. But anyway, long story short, we anticipate it to be completed by end of this fiscal year, June 30th, 2023. We're not anticipating the city to expend any funds, so we would send a receipt. Carrabelle would get the money from DEP, and then it would be paid, so you wouldn't be on the hook, no liability for any outstanding funds. And if there's anything I missed that y'all want some clarification on, just let me know. Thank y'all so much for having me up here tonight.
Okay, so the ARPC would be conducting a regional, Appalachia regional, a wide vulnerability assessment for all the municipalities in the Appalachia region that do not have this done.
Yes, ma'am. Last year, we hired a consultant to do the counties for us. Now there's I don't know, maybe like 10 or 12 that are going to do their own, and then about 18 that don't have them. And so we're going to try to satisfy the requirements and get them all done this year.
So that was my next question, about 18 municipalities do not have that vulnerability assessment. And the DEP is going to provide the ARPC with funding to conduct this assessment for all 18 municipalities?
Yes, ma'am. 100% funding, no match requirement.
Okay, and then but then the city of Carrabelle would be sponsoring this,
yes, ma'am.
act as the conduit for receiving and distributing the money, receiving the money from the DEP and distributing
That's
it to
correct. The way
you.
that the statute reads, you need a sponsor, county or municipality.
Okay. Similar to what we do with the artificial reefs. And the ARPC, as they always do, they handle everything. You are familiar with the entire group there. They've done several projects for us. Did a disaster recovery project for us last year that helped take off one of the findings on the financial statement that we had for years. And come to find out it was an easy thing to do, and we're glad to have it. So we just need then approval to let the city act as a sponsor for this grant that the ARPC is going to be conducting through the DEP.
I'd just like to say that there is some funding out there that's available, and the city does have projects, but because we don't have this vulnerability study, we're not eligible to apply.
And that's,
So if we get this study, it makes us eligible to apply for these funding to do these projects.
Right.
that's what
And
you
so
just
we'll
said.
look at the assets owned by the city, and we'll basically look at what a 100-year storm and a 500-year storm, the inundation would look like, projected over the years 2040 and 2070. So with that information, you'll have a decent idea over those two planning horizons what kind of situation the city might find itself in with its assets.
All right then. So yes, sir, if you'll just come forward and.
Well, my name is David Prentice, and I just want to know, and you answered a little bit of it, what vulnerabilities will this address?
Vulnerabilities to flooding scenarios, and as codified by Florida statute, they're basically going to be using NOAA and FEMA values that go into a formula, into a geographic information system tool that will then allow us to see the potential flooding scenarios to a pump station, to City Hall, to a library, whatever asset it is.
That sounds great.
It is a good thing. We need that assessment just so that we need to know where we might need to conduct stormwater management projects as well. We're talking about allocating some of our American Rescue Plan Act funds towards some stormwater projects here in Carrabelle.
And the state is going to be developing I think they're in rulemaking maybe now for a statewide flooding, a state flood plan, Florida state flood plan. And any information that this fleshes out, the city would be able to submit projects to that state flooding plan and then be able to ask for funding to mitigate against those potential damages.
And we're actually working with the SUNS project through the Nature Conservancy, and we actually were a top project that they had identified through all of their projects, even over in Bay County. We had the top project, and we couldn't qualify for money from the DEP because we didn't have that box checked. We did not have the vulnerability assessment. So we thought when y'all were doing the county's assessments for the counties in the region that the cities would be included, but we thought wrong.
Because of the timelines situation, that wasn't going to be possible. But we'll get it done this go around.
Okay, Mr. Prentice.
Forward, how quickly could we have results?
So probably wouldn't get an award until the end of September. And so looking within, I don't know how many months is between September and the end of June, but that would be the timeline. So we should have it finalized by June, the deliverable, if it's accepted by DEP, and whatever kind of edits might be required. They then accept it, and then at that point in time, any future grants or contracts that require that vulnerability assessment to be done to the standards of the new statute, it would suffice. Yes, sir.
Completed by 2020, about a full year from now. Okay.
I would like to make a motion that the city sponsors the grant for the vulnerability study.
Okay. And that motion is by Commissioner Brown. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, and that motion then by Commissioner Brown is to allow the city to sponsor the grant for the vulnerability study conducted by the ARPC, second by Commissioner Millender. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to see you. Okay, bye-bye. All right. Next item up is discussion of possible action regarding a new police officer. And we have Chief Schuman to speak with us. And it's a pleasure to see you, Chief.
Hey, good evening, good evening. Just wanted to come before the commission tonight. We did have a full-time officer leave us for a position with the Franklin County Courthouse back around mid-June. We ran an ad in the paper and only one applicant applied, which was Matt Murray. I know most of you know Matt from Carrabelle. He did work with us for a brief time. He's also had time with the sheriff's office. And so I would like to see about getting him approved to go full-time as of this coming up Saturday, the 6th.
Make a motion to approve Chief's recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve Officer Matt Murray, he's working part-time now,
Yep.
right? To full-time as of Saturday.
Yep.
And that motion is by Commissioner Millender, second by Commissioner Allen. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, and that motion carries, short and sweet. You had to wait a long time, but welcome
okay.
aboard, sir.
Welcome aboard.
Okay. All right, and we'll these other items that we have, the next three items are going to be some discussion items, and we'll just go ahead and take a quick break, and maybe 10 minutes, and then we'll start in again.
Let's see.
This meeting Thursday, August 4th, 2022, in Carrabelle City Hall chambers. So we'll move forward. We're still under new business. Item 5, discussion of possible action regarding development of boat ramp overflow parking area on Southeast Avenue C. I sent in a couple of pictures. I've told you all before I had some pictures of some boat ramp parking right at boat ramps at the Shell Point and Mexico Beach. But Courtney, I guess we would show also where this overflow parking area is on Southeast Avenue C and the location of the old water plant facility. Right there. And I'm sure everyone in this room and all the others that were here earlier have experienced and seen all of the issues that we have with, especially on snapper days, fishermen, anglers with their trucks and trailers, and they're everywhere. They're parked everywhere, and they're parking in front of businesses and leaving that, their vehicle and trailer there for 8-10 hours, and the businesses are somewhat upset about it, the business owners. So, and we have this, we have tried to, we have some signage that was put up to try to direct these anglers to bring their truck and trailer unit over here to this facility. They would come down off the Marine Street boat ramp, down Southeast 3rd Street, and then into that parking lot. But the parking lot has it's got a lime rock base. It's been leveled, but it has the appearance that you could get stuck in there, and not only just stuck in the dirt appearance, but if everyone doesn't park just right, it could be haphazard, and it could give the appearance that somebody's going to get blocked in. So we need to develop, we talked about, we've got money in the boat ramp account, fee account, and we talked about what could we do to design a boat ramp facility. And I know I mentioned to you all in another meeting, I think it was a CRA meeting, you see how those trailers are there on the left-hand side? To me, and this is at Mexico Beach, and they have a beautiful facility, looks like they unload their trailers there and then bring their vehicles back up here by the ramp so they don't have to walk so far. And then this is the Shell Point boat ramp facility. And I just brought that to kind of show how it's circular, and they're parking on the sides and they're parking on in the middle as well. And this is for Russell to, get some parking ideas, because he may have to draw us a parking lot. Don't know if we can afford to invest that kind of money there that they have at Shell Point, but we could. I don't know what we would put gravel down. What can we do to make people use this parking lot?
At least maybe even log ties.
Yeah,
or
log
something
ties,
that
but
make it look like a parking lot.
right now it's grassed over. Streets and Roads does keep the grass mowed down, but grass has grown over the lime rock, and they're just not driving onto it. We have some money.
Mayor, I know
Yes.
is the TDC, that would seem like a good TDC project, right? Potentially.
It does.
The TDC, it seems like they won't fund anything unless it's got a beach in front of it.
But this property is in our CRA district, and we have boat ramp money, so.
We have sufficient boat ramp money.
God, it is water related.
It is water related. Now, I was told that they would, if we want to make a big consolidated sign at the boat ramp telling everything, and a map to the parking lot, and do this and don't do that, one of those signs, that the TDC would fund that.
A sign?
One consolidated sign. We just need to design it and take it to Sign Design and get a quote, and TDC will fund it. But I don't know if they would. The Franklin County has their own parking issues, and I'm sure if there's a parking lot to be funded by the TDC, that Franklin County will fund their parking issues. And once they do that, then, and I see that it's being done, then I can ask for money.
I think they just funded one in East Point. Additional boat ramp parking if
But-
I'm not mistaken.
Right, but the TDC didn't do that, because I sit on that board and I know we didn't do that.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the TDC.
So, do you have suggestions, Mr. Russell?
Do we have survey on this property?
Yes.
Topographic and, yeah, okay,
Boundary.
okay.
Do you think we need a topo for a parking lot?
Yeah, right, and there may be opportunity to do some grading, to, you know, create the space that's more functional. So that could be meaningful. But I'm happy to take a look at that. I'm sure Thurman did the survey? Okay.
So can we have Russell take a look at this?
Do
Look
we
at
need a
the,
motion?
Yeah, I thought there was a lot more there.
It's close to 5 acres in total, but that includes half of the hill, right?
Does the city own the property that goes out to, what is that, Fifth? Or Third? Fifth, Third? Okay.
but it's very low there.
Yeah.
You know, we looked at that property to put this building on, and it was so low down there by Southeast Fifth Street that we decided not to do that.
Down on that end of it, there's cattails and lily pads growing in the end of it down there.
Okay.
We actually own all of that.
And that is low
Okay.
as well, this bottom portion here.
And then what is Lime Rock is basically this top piece right now.
That open, it's already open?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'd love to take a look at it.
Okay, that would be wonderful. With me, is it okay with the rest of you?
Yeah, I think you can take a look at it. I actually saw 5 trucks and trailers parked in there
Oh,
this
good.
past weekend.
That's great.
But and Russell, he's the professional, he can take a look at it, but with those 5 big, and when I say big now, a typical boat and trailer is long. And they were backed in, had their nose almost out to the right-of-way, which no one could block them in unless they parked on the right-of-way. And it wouldn't accommodate a whole lot more.
You think it might accommodate 10 or 15? No?
You'd be pushing it.
We have some city stuff in that corner that's on the corner of 3rd and C. What
Yeah, you
is
can-
that?
Pump stations for the sewer.
It's just parts?
Yeah.
And that can be moved away.
Yeah.
But that's sitting
That-
on,
that's a
that's sitting
good
on hard
spot.
ground.
It's a big
Yeah.
hill.
There's lots of nice trees.
Where, Commissioner Brown, where were you saying?
Can you point to it where all the stuff is?
And what might
Okay.
hinder the parking lot is there's some nice oaks there.
Okay.
And I don't think we would want to cut down
Right.
those oaks.
A lot of those oaks are up on that high hill, and Russell mentioned grading. When he takes a look at it, he'll realize that's too high to be
Too high.
grading.
It's very high.
That's a lot.
I
that's a
do
lot of hill.
remember,
It's
yeah.
what they call a relic sand dune.
Yeah.
So, but we're trying to just do something, figure something to alleviate these parking issues that we have with truck trailers and staying all day in front of the businesses and blocking private driveways and all these things that they do because they want to fish. All right.
Some days
Okay.
they're down on our street. We
They're
can see
all
them
over.
from my house.
I know it from. Okay, well, Commissioner Brown, you want to make a motion to direct Mr. Large to investigate this?
Yes,
Or,
I make that
maybe,
motion.
maybe bring us a conceptual.
Right.
Okay, how about
Motion
that?
for Mr. Large to bring us a conceptual for the overflow boat parking at Southeast Avenue C.
I'll second.
Okay, and so we have that motion by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Allen for Russell to prepare us a conceptual regarding parking on Southeast Avenue C at the old water plant facility. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. Or do you think we need any further discussion on this item tonight?
Nope.
Okay, we'll put this under old business then next month and and have some further discussion. Thank you very much. Okay, then we're going to move on to old business, and this is discussion and possible action concerning parking along Marine Street in Tallahassee. I beg your pardon?
You skipped item number 6, discussion
Thank you.
and commercial building on.
Oh, thank you. I turned my page too quick. Thank y'all very much. Item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding commercial building awnings constructed 4 feet and 6 inch from main building with structural support beams anchored to approximate center of sidewalk. And this is requested by Alan Russell at 210 Marine Street, the White Kitchen building. I'm surprised Mr. Russell isn't here. He knew this. He requested this, and he knew this item was going to be on the agenda. He brought this before the CRA board. These commission members are required to sit on the CRA, so they sit on the CRA board, as do I. And so we've seen this before, but if you would put that drawing that they, and so everyone in here knows where the White Kitchen is, right? So we don't really need the map if we know where that is. But they did bring a drawing. And they talked about they were going to have 8x8 posts. I can't remember how many, anchored to the sidewalk. And I've got a lot of questions here, but he's not here. But I'm just going to ask the questions that I have, since I don't know how many 8x8 posts. I will say that I looked into this, and generally awnings are self-anchored. They're not, they're not brought down and anchored to the ground. That, to me, is making more of a porch or a patio addition to the building, and this would be on public property. It was with the same email, Courtney, that I sent those other photos. So, and I had asked and we got it here to the commission because I asked Mr. Hartman during the CRA meeting, would we need a variance to extend their building over the sidewalk? Because actually, in my opinion, if they're going to bring it out and anchor it down, then they're extending their building. And maybe we need a variance, and certainly the CRA can't do that. That's done on the city side. We need to make sure that they would have a 4-foot wide pathway, walkway. Who is the responsible party if an awning or structure like that is damaged in any way? Now that it's anchored to the city property, does it belong to the city? If it's damaged, who would force the property owner to repair, remove this awning structure? So if you had a sidewalk encroachment agreement, it would have to be very detailed. Liability, we still haven't received on this temporary sidewalk encroachment agreement for Harry's while they're under construction. We still haven't received proof of their liability insurance. They would have to carry liability insurance. I'm concerned that if, and this is not a quasi-judicial yet, we might send it to the P&Z, but I'm concerned if we do allow one like this, it's going to set a precedence. And if we decide we want to do one, I believe that everything needs to look the same. We need to develop some specifications. It's going to be just like if we accept a city roadway, it has to be built to city specifications. If they're going to, somebody wants to construct something like this on city property, it needs to be built to specifications. It needs to be also built to architectural specifications so that we don't have a hodgepodge of different kind of awnings sticking out here and there, and so that we can develop a uniform look throughout the city. I already mentioned that this would change the historical look, and we do have some groups that are concerned with maintaining the historical look. And I would say, if we do agree to something like this, that we need to be prepared to develop a sidewalk encroachment agreement for multiple property owners, because they would be ready to get more room. I mean, they could not only use it for dining, they could use it for putting their the racks and whatever they're selling, their souvenirs and stuff. So.
You know what I think would look great on that building? I looked at it. And I saw them on numerous other buildings, is a vinyl or canvas awning. and the framework for vinyl or canvas awning could be anchored to the wall. It's not heavy at all.
The thing with that is it has those arms
Yeah.
and you wouldn't have much clearance walking under it.
I looked at that when I was down there,
Mm-hmm.
and where those windows are up high enough to where you would have to use your framework for your vinyl or canvas is high enough that it wouldn't be hanging down that far. It would be up considerably. Anyway, that's just a thought. I think that would look attractive on it myself.
And someone suggested to me one of these roll-out sun awnings like you see advertised on TV.
Yeah, but they
rolled
usually
out.
have braces, and when they roll out, they're hanging out there.
That's true, they're
That's
like
what I was
this,
talking
and that would block the sidewalk. We can't
Yeah.
have the sidewalk blocked.
But anyway, I've saw those like I'm describing, and they're pretty attractive, and a lot of them are, if you will, for as far as the historical thing goes, they're built and designed to meet some of those eras. Yeah.
I don't
Anyway.
think that light pole is 9 feet from that
I was
building.
just thinking the same
I walk
thing.
by there
Yeah.
every day. I've never measured it, but
Yeah.
I don't see how there's any way it could be 9
A light
feet.
pole.
Right, I don't understand, so we would have to do some, if we think we're going to approve it, more investigation would have to be done because we can't, he's saying that's 4.6, he's gonna bring that post out 4
4
feet,
to
6
6
inches.
feet.
But then how much room, if
Oh,
he's
4 feet.
putting
Yeah.
seating under there, how much room is between the
There's
pole and?
not, you can't walk around it. You wouldn't be able to walk around it.
Uh-huh,
And I mean, Appalach, Oyster City, the brewery, they have this same type of awning that they're talking about, and they have the posts that come down to the sidewalk, but they go to the edge of the sidewalk. So they have seating right on the edge, right up to the building, and you can easily get through. But if you do the post in the middle of the sidewalk, you're not gonna be able to walk around that easily, and especially if you're putting tables there. So I'm
And-
not for or against it, but I think if they're gonna do it, it would need to go all the way to the end.
And I did, you mentioned New Orleans, and I looked, and it's reminiscent of New Orleans, but all their awnings that I could see on the street view there were self-supporting. And then what comes out to the edge that hangs over are balconies, and those supports are out to the very edge of the sidewalk, so there's plenty of
Exactly, that's
walkway.
what I was saying.
They're
It needs
heavy
to be
duty.
all
They're
or
supporting
nothing.
balconies.
Yes.
And the difference here is that as you come around that corner, you have property, and then it comes back down to the normal sidewalk. And my opinion, that if you'd have to make just a one exception for him, and if we could do that, I would be in favor of it. And without having to commit to, if we do this, then everybody gets it. Because everybody could be out in the middle of the road if they use that same distance. So and the fact that he's a neighbor of mine, and,
And another concern
But-
is cars pull
but
up
I've
over
seen
the
it
sidewalk.
developed out there during some of our holidays where we have extra stuff right in there. We get Santa Claus to sit back in there, and all the kids come out and get in the lap, that's all because of that extra corner where it goes out before it comes back to the sidewalk. And, if there's some way that he could use that, a little extra, I'd be in favor of that, but that's, as they say, just my opinion.
That's fine, that's good.
That's what it's
And,
about.
but I don't know how we can just pinpoint one property owner and say, this one property owner can do this, because I don't think
I
you.
don't think we need to be.
His situation is only one way. There's not another place in town that I know of that has that kind of corner.
Well, Mr. Bow kinda does. I mean, what if he wanted to do it, you know?
Now it's next door to her business.
Yeah.
That's
And,
DOT.
I don't-
what is that, the realty company on the corner there, across from you?
I don't
Or
know.
not Anchor, but the, not Anchor. Not Seacrest, Coastal Properties.
Coastal.
They're on the corner, they have quite a bit of land there.
Well, they don't really have a sidewalk around them, though. I just don't want to block the sidewalk. And that light post makes it awkward for what they're trying to do.
Well, we can't block the sidewalk. We
Right.
can't approve something that's gonna block the sidewalk. Has to be, as Russell says, a 4-foot pathway, walkway, non-obstructing.
Yeah, and if they are only going out 4 feet 6 inches and they're putting tables there, that's not possible. There's no way to have a 4-foot walkway. But they're not here, so.
No, they're not here.
Isn't there a fire plug right there?
Yes.
Mhm.
You gotta be careful about obstacles putting around a fire plug against the law to park.
There's one right around
Exactly.
this corner.
Now, my opinion is he could put on in up there while doing this, about putting poles down.
Well, that's what I was
Tony
suggesting.
mentioned that there's, if he can't, need to get him a contractor, cause they could build an awning up there without the poles.
I talked to a contractor this week also, and they're gonna have to redo that roof for sure. And there's ways that they could anchor
Add it
a
onto the
porch
roof,
coming
yeah.
out when they redo that roof, but instead of having them come down, they have it go up. So it just elongates the roof.
Yeah.
We don't want.
And then there won't be anything to hit your head, and it'll still be a cover. There's ways around it.
And then I think the reason he came now, and I did ask him, in that CRA meeting, was because he wants outside dining, and he did see that
Right.
Harry's had outside dining, but he wasn't aware that that was a temporary, agreement. So, you know, he may be coming back to ask for outside dining. So this is something new that the city's gonna have to look at, yeah, and make some, you know, more,
The junction
well,
has outside dining.
yeah, but well-outlined guidelines, in the sidewalk encroachment agreement for Harry's, it's outlined that their seating is supposed to be directly against and adjacent to their real property. It's supposed to be up against, like Carrabelle Junction. But they have yet to do that. They still have it out in the sidewalk, and then the chairs get moved, and they're using regular 4 tops instead of 2 tops like we designated. And so, you're having a hard time having a 4-foot pathway there right now.
Should we table it, or what do we do? They're not here.
Excuse me.
Well, I have two commissioners on my right that say it can be done anchored to the building.
Yes.
There's definitely ways around it.
And I have another commissioner then that says it.
When you
So,
start extending a building out on public property, that's.
it's risky business,
Yeah,
I think. You're
you
setting.
got- You gonna have a building.
We'd have to
built
change
public
all
property.
kinds of ordinances
don't
and
think
stuff
that's
to
gonna
do
fly.
that.
I know it. I worry about the liability, and if
Yeah,
there's a damage to it, who's, you know, who's gonna clean it up? If a hurricane storm, something blows it, whose responsibility
Or
is
if
it?
a car hits it,
Mm-hmm.
they drive up
I
on
say
the
we
sidewalk
send it back
every day.
and let it reconsider.
Okay, so we have Mr. Keith Walden says to send it back and let Mr. Russell reconsider.
Cause I don't think we're gonna approve this.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
I think he needs to come up with a new plan.
Mr. Hartman, do we need a motion to send it back or just send it back?
Or take it, or what?
You know, it's discussion and possible action.
Mm-hmm.
So you can,
Just not do
you
it.
can just not, I mean, we've certainly discussed it, and it does not require action. I mean,
All right, let me just ask the public, does the public have any input on this? Okay, I see Mr. Christopherson does. I mean, you know, it's always nice to get other input. We want to know what people are thinking, because
Well,
this
someone
is-
else can talk after me, but I just pulled
Okay.
up the street view. I mean, there's a fire hydrant there too that doesn't look like it's very far from the building.
That's correct.
And then that light pole, by the time you come out 4-6, you're gonna be pretty close to that pole, and now what, you're gonna have to walk around that pole every time if you don't go underneath the awning, and I think you're gonna have a hard time with that corner where the 2 roofs are gonna meet. The sidewalk cuts, it's not as wide there, so now that corner post is gonna be out there practically in the street, so I don't know,
It's real weird.
it seems like it's gonna be a little crowded.
It's an idea. A lot of people like the idea of outside dining. It doesn't bother me, but maybe we need, another plan, or this is something that we could, if we wanted to send it to P&Z to see if we want to develop some specifications for these businesses, if they want to do. Yes, sir, Mr. Tim?
I see further on the agenda that you're talking about the parking in Marine Street in Tallahassee. That has always been a huge problem, that section right there. You've got some new businesses there. This man wants to get that restaurant open that's been sitting there forever. And maybe it's time to look at that whole section and think about maybe one-way traffic coming in from the Tallahassee, from 98. And that would give you a lot more room to move things around and merchandise outside, outdoor seating, or so it's something to consider, that whole section right there, because that's really becoming, the main street.
Right. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comment? Any comment, Mr. Prentice?
Yeah, what seems obvious is me, we just asked Russell, his name's Russell, Mr. Russell?
Yes, sir. Alan Russell.
Alan Russell, right. Come back to us with some more specifics of what your vision is.
Okay. So there we have public comment as well. And we'll just send it back to him and ask him to give us some more specifics, and then we can decide if this is something that we might like to do throughout the city and have some architectural guidelines.
Yeah.
It could be a good thing. We just need to go about it in the right way, however that is. Yeah. Okay.
Problem solved.
All right then. Now can we go to old business? And we have 2 items under there. Old business, item 1, discussion of possible action concerning parking along Marine Street and Tallahassee Street. And so I looked at your video that you all, this was tabled from last month, and you all discussed a 2-hour parking limit, and it was, I think you talked about to outline right now we have a 1-hour parking limit for an area that's outlined in our ordinances, but I don't understand, I can't even, it's so vague, I can't understand the description. And I think some of you had talked about it needed to be a better description. So, and I've received several, and Mr. Tim was just one, and he has earlier told me a couple of weeks ago, and several people have said that something that would help this parking issue that we have is to make a one-way traffic from Highway 98 going south to Southeast Avenue C. But I guess first we have a 1-hour parking limit. Do we want to change that to 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever we want to change it to? Do we want to better outline the district for the 2-hour parking limit? The chief is here. He's moved up to the front seat. He wants to also participate in this as a similar, somewhat like a workshop. Would this be just for the downtown businesses? Maybe we need to put a time limit at the Marine Street Pavilion, because we know we've got huge parking issues there on the weekend. They come and stay 3-4 days a week downtown. Something we could do with the boat overflow parking is no overnight parking throughout the city except at the boat overflow parking, and we could put an iron horse there as well and let folks pay to park there overnight. No camping, but they could park there overnight for their weekend Dog Island trip and pay $10, $15 a night to park there.
Would you have to put some kind of light in there?
Might, security light.
Yeah, 'cause people, vehicles would get burglarized. Gotta think about that too.
And do we want to have, like, there's other parking places throughout the city, the Messer Pavilion, at the post office there along Tallahassee, kind of across from Marine Street. Do we want to put parking limits on that, parking time on that, or let that be just in the daytime from sunup to sundown, because there's no overnight parking?
And Commissioner Brown come up with this map
It's a
based
suggestion.
on what our discussion was last month about the areas that we might be looking at and maybe the areas that need to be limited or what
The
wouldn't
red
change.
lines would be limited to whatever we decide those limitations are. And then the green would just be,
No overnight parking otherwise.
yes.
And I see you got in front of the Marine Street, pavilion, limited.
Yes.
That's very good. That's good.
Because that's
Um,
kind of what we had talked about, but then, here in front of the condos, because people live here, they're
Yeah.
gonna have overnight guests. And it wouldn't be fair to limit them. So, and then you have all these parking spaces on Avenue C. And then, again, over here on B. So employees for our businesses downtown have plenty of places they can park.
They do.
All day long. And, you know, Harry's, their employees can park here, anywhere down here. Marine Street, down here, Tallahassee Street, there's tons of parking here.
And
for
the Messer
employees
Pavilion-
And in this lot.
The Messer Pavilion is completely unused.
Right.
Employees could park there,
There's-
you know, people,
There's lots of unlimited, there's more unlimited than limited, but where our businesses are, if they, like, just in front of my store, on this block right here, we've got, these people are obviously working on renovating their building. They have an employee, if I have an employee, Chase is moving over here, she'll have an employee, they have an employee. We have 8 spots. So if everyone parks their car on our street all day, then customers only have 4 spots. That doesn't make sense. But I've talked to everyone and we've worked it out. But, you know, it would be nice to have some,
and there's, if you go
guidance.
on up past the Marathon, there's plenty of parking spaces up there by the Welcome Park.
right?
There's plenty of parking spaces at the Messer Pavilion. On Avenue C, where you've got there's the 3 parking spaces on the other side of Avenue C on there.
Yeah, that's
There's-
right, I couldn't see them.
But there's 3
lots of
there.
spots there. And this is just my suggestion, and I was thinking we would get signs that say vehicle parking only, so people aren't parking there with their trucks and boats, the trailers. 2-hour limit, violators will be towed, but it would be up to business owners or whoever to call it in, and just like we do our normal code ordinance complaint type things, you'd have to call it in to do something. Would it be something that the police chief or his guys and ladies would have to monitor and drive around all day and time it out?
Not completely true.
Okay,
How
so.
would you be able to tell how
yeah.
long they've been there? If you're gonna be 2
Yes,
hours on
okay.
I was gonna say,
Now
I
the-
think,
You're gonna have a
I
clock?
think the
They
chief
can get
needs
warning
to step
tickets.
in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Right, now the chief's going to speak, because we
Yeah.
want to know how we can enforce any of this.
There should be no limit on parking time-wise. There's no way to police that.
Okay.
If I sit there for an hour or 2 hours washing the vehicle, and I get a call, I have to leave and come back, then my 2 hours start over. Or if I leave and come back and they've moved the car, I have no way to prove that they did not. So to start taking public parking places and putting time limits on it with no way to police that, and it's just gonna create a lot of problems. It's gonna create a lot of problems. I agree with the signs. I think the signs are a good thing as far as like no overnight parking, you know, on your vehicle will be towed at your expense. I think that would address a lot of the issues as far as people parking overnight. The issues with the condos and people that have guests that park there overnight, there again, it's a public parking place. So you can't pick and choose, oh, because I live in the condo, I can have my guest park across the street. You know, that's, you can take that chance if you want to, but if it's gonna be overnight parking, it needs to be across the board. It doesn't need to be, you know, this part here, not this part there. I think that's gonna just create more problems as well. So I don't agree with the limited hour parking. I think it's just too much to try to do. I've looked at other cities and what they do, and whenever there's a parking issue like that where they do have a timeline on it or a time frame, it's a fine, and it's usually anywhere from $15 to $30. And so to address that part, if we did go that route and it was a fine, then we would have to try to figure out who takes the money, if they want to contest it, where do they contest it at, it'd have to go to a magistrate and all this other stuff. So I think, and this is just my opinion, the best thing to do is not have any time frame on any parking. I think you're just gonna create a mess. Because we've already had this situation come up where another business owner has called up about 1 hour parking in front of his business because of the signs that are put out in front of Harry's. So that's my thoughts.
And how did these signs, thank you very much, how did these signs get in front of Harry's that says 1 hour parking?
We put them down there because there is an ordinance in effect that says there is 1 hour parking.
And Harry's Bar requested that?
Yes, they did.
And they were having an issue actually all the way down Marine Street, the truck trailer units
Yeah.
were parking
Right,
all day.
And like I said, the sign of, vehicles only is a good thing. No overnight parking is a great thing. The issue with Harry's is they're doing construction in the package. The guy that's doing the work has his vehicle parked there all day long with his construction trailer right behind him.
That he does.
So how is that a not violation if we're gonna do the 1 hour parking? We can't pick and choose. It's either gotta be 100% across the board or nothing at all.
Yes, Mr. Prentice.
Thank you. Chief, I don't presume to know policing business at all. But when I was a student at FSU, I got caught on several occasions parking at the post office on FSU campus, and I could never figure out how they figured out. All the vehicles were moving all the time. How'd they know it was me? Well, they put chalk on the wheels, and they're able to tell when the vehicle moves. So it's not that you have to stay there the whole time. You just put a mark on the tire, and then the next time you come back 2 hours later, if you happen by there and it hasn't moved, then you know that vehicle hasn't moved. That's just a simple suggestion. I get it. Nobody wants to do a stakeout sitting there watching a vehicle. And then regarding Mr. Russell working on the building, I think it's reasonable to make special exceptions for an individual that's working on their business. And that could be accommodated. It's not like we're a huge city that we don't know each other and whose vehicle that is working on the
Now, we have made special exception for Harry's. That's why they've got the sidewalk encroachment agreement
Not
there.
just meant for the parking,
Yeah.
somebody who's gonna be there for a long time.
Right. And we're trying to consider whether to remove this ordinance, as the chief has suggested, or to extend it to 2 hours or 3 hours is, oh, boy.
When this subject first came up, I'd like to make a comment. When the subject first came up, I was in favor of the time limit on the parking. 2 hours, 1 hour, whatever the board decided to do. But since that time, I've had a lot of thought and comment, and I've actually had some discussion with our police department. And I've come to realize, just as the chief has described tonight and made a point of, it'd be virtually almost impossible for them to enforce a 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour. And even with Mr. Prentice's suggestion with the chalk, I don't see how anybody got by with that, because I see how that could be disputed, and I'm not a lawyer, but he is. But anyway, but anyway, so where I'm going with that is I've got a little bit better understanding and time to think about it. The overnight parking, I was in favor of that. No overnight parking, especially down there in front of our pavilion. I'm still in favor of that. No overnight parking, and that would be more enforceable than this 1 hour, 2 hour. And the other thing about the 1 hour, 2 hour is we don't have meters like the city of Tallahassee. When you pull up on Main Street in Tallahassee, you get out and put your quarters in, and you set your time, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever you can fill that meter up to. We don't have those, and we don't have meter maids. We just Carrabelle. So anyway.
You're right.
Huh?
That's right.
Yeah, we're just Carrabelle. So anyway, in my opinion, I support the no overnight parking signs, especially down at the pavilion. And also the signs, if we want to put them up, no truck and trailer parking, vehicular parking only. That's a good suggestion, especially in those areas where that needs to be, just a singular vehicle.
And can that be
So-
done, Chief?
Oh, yeah,
Because we have
absolutely.
Yeah.
discussed that in the
Yeah.
business district
Yeah.
to say, and we would need to define the business
Right.
district,
Yep.
and then no truck trailer parking
Yeah.
in
just
the
vehicle
business
parking
district.
only.
Is
You know, all
exactly.
other
Vehicle
vehicles will be
parking
towed
only.
at owner's expense.
Well,
As long
and-
as that disclosure is on there,
Yeah.
then they're dead to
Uh-huh.
rights.
And when you pull up there, it's obvious that it's a truck and trailer or a single vehicle,
That's
so,
right.
yeah.
That's right.
And we have, now we have signs at the Messer Pavilion because we had some overnight parking going on there. And they were actually hooked up to the water, so we put a lock on the water
Oh,
faucet
goodness.
even. So, I had a water hose to the
You
water.
locked up my water faucet?
Yeah.
And now
So-
we park under the pavilion instead of in the parking spots.
Yeah, so maybe we need to put a sign up there, because that pavilion, Russell, we had them doing that years ago, and I asked Russell about it. It's not constructed, I think the concrete's like sidewalk thickness or something, so. But yes, I'm for no overnight parking at the Marine Street Pavilion and anywhere right around there at that Riverwalk Park. Because people come there and
That's right.
they are there for a week. The 4th of July, there were several cars that were there for a week.
Oh, I noticed.
And
over
people that
these-
want to use the pavilion or fish or come watch
Yeah.
our fireworks, they can't do it. People are parked there, they're gone, they're not spending money in Carrabelle, and
I have a
so,
question.
yes.
So how will we enforce no overnight parking if we can't enforce a time limit parking?
My night shift guys can patrol through that area quite often, which they do anyway. But if there's a vehicle there at 8 o'clock and then it's there at 12 o'clock and it's there at 2 o'clock in the morning, that vehicle's gonna be towed because it's been there overnight. So that would be one way to take care of that issue. And two other things, I do agree with Mr. Sullivan's assessment of the one-way. We, me and Courtney had talked about that when we was brainstorming ideas on how to address this parking fiasco. The problem with the way the street is set up now is so tight, and we changed the parking to accommodate more space so people could pass through there, but it's still congested. And so if we were able to change that to one-way parking heading south from 98 up to Avenue C, then that would eliminate the issues we have and the accidents that we have through that area as well.
And I've received several suggestions for that, to have that one way from 98 to Southeast Avenue C. And Courtney, would you point that out with your pointer or something like that?
This would be C.
That's
So
Southeast
98
C.
here at the top and Avenue C right here.
And of course, if it was one way coming south, the diagonal parking spaces, they're like in front
Would
of.
be flipped around?
Yes, that would have to be changed.
Coming south.
But how would you go the other way without reconstructing
You would come
all
here
those
and
side
turn this
streets?
way.
You'd have to come back and go back around on Southeast Avenue C, First
To the
Street.
park?
I beg your pardon?
You'd take
The
Avenue
First
C
Street.
to the,
To
First Street, and First Street's
but
slated,
that's like a,
Yeah.
that's slated to be resurfaced.
Yeah.
First Street is.
They would come up here, turn here and come out.
And then come back up and park, you can park on Avenue B to come back around, to walk around. Or come on back out to 98 and drive back around.
so B would have to be one way to First Street also. No?
No, it wouldn't. You
Cause
come,
then you could turn, okay,
yes, you come back out on B and then go back.
gotcha.
And if you were coming west on B, you'd come west on B and then go south on. And that would stop a lot of the truck trailer units. After they put in, they could come back north on Marine Street, but they could only come as far north as C. And then they would have to turn down, they would be forced to turn down to go down to that overflow parking lot. But they couldn't come down to the business district, and that would help alleviate the parking in the, of truck trailer units in the business district.
And if we did that, we probably could, on the opposite side of Marine Street, turn the parking back how it was, because you wouldn't need as wide of a road. So you could have more parking.
On the opposite side, like where Harry's is?
Or used to
The
be diagonal,
opposite
the diagonal
side.
parking.
Yeah.
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 Which would eliminate the truck
Right.
trailer issue as well, because then you
Uh-huh.
wouldn't have enough room to put the trailer out there in the middle of the road, so. One question though, the parking on Avenue C, would that be considered part of, as a park, or would it just be public parking? Since it would be part of the Pavilion, Marine Street boat overflow parking.
I suggested it as a normal parking.
spots right
Yeah, well, the reason why I'm asking is you said no overnight parking, but we would allow overnight parking in the Avenue C parking lot.
No,
one-
No overnight parking.
means
Oh, there, down
Yeah,
there.
and I'm talking about where
boat ramp
the old water place
Yeah,
is.
and that was just a suggestion, and if we allowed that, they would pay. They would buy a ticket, you know, like you do at a campground,
Okay,
and pay for a certain number of days and put that up on their, put the money in the iron horse and
Yeah.
put their ticket up on their windshield.
Okay, so, but it would have to have a sign that says for, you know, fishing only or whatever, because you don't want campers pulling in there.
No
We've
campers.
had
You'd
that
have
happen.
to say that, no campers.
So, you'd have to limit vans,
Mhm.
campers,
Mhm.
people say, no, we can stay here overnight for 3 or 4 days and just pay.
That's right.
Mhm.
Just call it Dog Island parking. I mean, that's the only people
Yeah, so,
Mayor, in the afternoons, like the weekend where all the people are bringing their boats out, they come up and turn right on Avenue B, and go back out and get on 98 that way. And it's almost like a constant truck and boat, all for a couple of hours in the day. Every day that there's a big fishing stuff.
Well, we have tried, we've got, this past year, we've surfaced Southeast Fifth Street, and to make that where they could pull out, straight out of the Marine Street boat ramp, go down to Southeast Fifth Street and come out on 98. We've surfaced that to make it a connector. Now we've surfaced Southeast 9th Street to make that a connector between Gulf Avenue and 98 to give them actually another way to come out, to keep from going downtown. So we'll either have to put up some signage or something to get the word out so that they can redevelop their habits.
Maybe we need some, like, boat ramp parking this way on those streets from 98 and Gulf.
I've seen them using them though this past weekend. You know, I live right there, and there was boats and trailers coming down 9th Street all day long.
Great.
So they were using that.
They're using all
Yeah,
of
they
them.
are.
There's
Good.
so many of them.
Courtney, I was gonna mention too, we might wanna get with Dustin and have that sign put out on weekends, that big billboard sign that shows additional parking, where to go. That might be just another visual tool for them to find the area. So,
Can do that.
Well, we've got some time because snapper season just closed.
But Grouper's coming.
Yes. But they pushed it back a little bit.
Yeah,
so.
they did.
Oh, they did,
Yeah.
okay.
Do we need more time to think about this? It seems like we've all got all kinds of opinions.
Okay, so we agree, though, we want no overnight parking in some designated areas. And we have no overnight parking, and the parks are closed. Now, this one on the corner of Avenue C, that, well, let's see, I don't know where it is there right now. But it's the corner of Avenue C and Marine Street. That may possibly be a park because, you know, we've talked on the CRA
yeah.
that we're gonna put the Mariners Memorial there. So I don't know if we would consider that a park, maybe, maybe not, but it is a good place for people, employees to park. It's excellent. There's like 10 or 12 spaces there, 15 with across the street. So, but anyway, we've talked about we don't want overnight parking in some designated areas. It seems like we agree on that. Seems like we agree that we don't want truck trailer parking in the business district, so we would need to outline the business district. I don't know, I mean, the one-way traffic there that's been suggested by many, how do we feel about, I'm okay with it. I think it's a good idea.
Would you have to have a public hearing on that?
That's
I
what
don't
was
know.
gonna
Ask
suggest
Mr.
is-
Hartman.
Because there might be some people opposed to it.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with it myself.
It's a pretty late night to be discussing that. Now, do we need a public hearing if we go to a
I think a
one-way?
public hearing would be a good idea, but I
Okay.
don't think it's required. It's not like an abandonment. We don't need to
Okay.
pass a resolution or anything. We just change in traffic flow for public safety and all this, but it
Okay.
certainly wouldn't hurt to have a public hearing.
You may have some landowners that would be miffed if they didn't have an opportunity.
Know that it was happening. Mhm. So the one-way traffic is suggested to, from the chief, not to have a time limit.
No overnight parking.
No overnight parking, no truck, trailer, and business district. We need to outline where's the business district.
And the good
And-
thing about the signage and the no overnight parking and vehicles towed at owner expense, it takes us out of the citation ordinance violation issue. If their vehicle's illegally parked and it gets towed, then they have to take that up with the tow truck company to get their vehicle back. We would no longer be involved in that, other than just, hey, I need to have this vehicle moved, it's been here overnight parked.
Otherwise, you could end up having to go to court.
Right.
Stay all day for $25.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So you don't think just putting the signs that say 2-hour parking would at least deter people from doing it? You're still gonna have people that are gonna do it.
It's not the deterrent, it's the calls that we're gonna get on it, because people are business owners and other people are gonna see it and go, well, you know, how can they do it and I can't do it? And it's just, it's not feasible to try to, regulate all that, to, you know, find the ones that are doing it and to cite them.
it would have to be enforced.
Yeah, because it would be an ordinance violation. So,
Well, as he described, and as I had talked to them in the last couple of weeks, the officers, that it's really not enforceable.
right, right.
Yeah.
So,
I just see that we're growing, and I would rather get ahead of it than try to play catch-up later.
Yeah.
And to me, this is would be getting ahead of it, because it's not gonna get less busy.
well, and the other issue is that if, let's say I loan my vehicle to somebody and they park there and then they get cited, I get the ticket because
I mean,
the
it's the
vehicle's in
same
my
as
name.
if they parked it
So-
overnight.
Well, I know, but if they're parked overnight, then their vehicle gets towed. Then they have to deal with the tow truck company as far as getting their vehicle back and whatever costs that would cost them to get it back from them. It takes us out of that whole equation. Other than just, hey, you park in front of a sign that says you're towed, you can't park here overnight, your vehicle's being towed.
So, on the hours, I don't know, I'm on the fence about that. I mean, I might want to go downtown and go to a concert that's in one of those buildings downtown. Sometimes that happens. And I might be there longer than 2 hours.
Then you just park where you're allowed to park for longer than 2 hours.
Yeah, I guess so, but
Well, why don't we
I don't
just
know.
back off of it and
I think
take
it-
a little
I think it
extra
would
looking
be-
at it and
Yeah.
come back
do
with
we,
a better
do we
answer?
want to table this and take our,
I'd move to table it.
Okay, we've got a, you
I'll
want to
second
discuss
that.
it next week? I mean, next agenda? Okay. And that was Commissioner Brown. So we're going to table this to the September agenda. And that's motion by Commissioner Allen and second by Commissioner Brown. Is there any other discussion?
I just want to say, I think that the map that Commissioner Brown made does outline the areas that we need to address.
The problem areas.
I mean, maybe just, we need to point out that this is no overnight, and these may be truck, no, or vehicle
Business
only,
district,
business district. But I think that she does address the area that we were
That we're
wanting
co-
to address.
It's at least highlighted there for us to see, and this are the areas of concern. Okay. All right, well, thank you. Okay, so, any other discussion? Yes,
If you're gonna amend the ordinance to remove the time limit, does that take a couple of meetings? I mean, how long does that take? Because now it's out there that they have this 1 hour thing, I mean, so there's gonna be an issue. I would think some people are gonna still have an issue with, you know, calling the chief about that 1 hour, since they're known now, so how long does that take to do that?
Mr. Hartman?
Can you just rescind that ordinance? Does that take 2 meetings to rescind?
It'd be the same as amending, but the thing is, it's a matter of, I don't want to recommend non-enforcement. I mean, I think we have enforcement priorities. The chief will take that into consideration. People calling and complaining, I understand the reason for it, but this hasn't been an issue until, well, that doesn't really matter. But yeah, I hear what Mr. Christopherson's saying, but I don't think, I think we've tabled it to the next meeting. I don't think there's an issue. I mean, meaning, obviously people can call, but then the police will handle it accordingly as they.
But if we decide we don't want a 1 hour and we go to 2 hour, will that would be an ordinance amendment requiring a public hearing?
Yes.
Or what if we
Yes.
decide we
And,
want
and to revoke it, we'd get rid of, it would be the same. We'd have to, it's almost the same as the ordinance amendment.
Revoke would be a first, second hearing?
Yep.
Okay.
We would repeal, a repealing ordinance, basically.
Okay, repeal. Okay. All right, okay, so all those in favor of tabling until next September agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. All right, now we're going to have a long September meeting as well.
Why?
Okay,
I'm bringing snacks.
okay. So the final. Yeah, we started at 4:30 today already. The final item under old business is discussion and possible action regarding expansion of the Evergreen Cemetery and development options. And so first, we learned last month that the land that we were really anxious to expand on is not suitable for traditional cemetery use. The 6 acres, I believe it's 5.95 acres donated by the school board. And so I would ask Mr. Hartman, do we need to, and we just received this land. I mean, I don't know if the deed is signed or not, I don't know anything about that. And do we need to have a courtesy and notify the school board in some formal way?
Yes, so the deed has been recorded, so the property is transferred to us. There is an issue with the legal description. Surveyor's still working on that. But that's sort of not relevant to this issue. And I have talked to a couple of commissioners, the mayor, about just that we have some other ideas of the directions we go in. But because the school board donated that property, do we, as a courtesy, and there's no legal requirement, but as a courtesy, obviously for a continuing relationship with them, offer it back if we're not going to use it, right, for a purpose of a cemetery?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to speak to that.
Okay.
Unofficially, I've taken that step. I've talked to the superintendent and some school board members, and the superintendent has discussed it with each of the members of the school board, and they're still happy with us keeping the property and wish us well and hope that we can benefit from it.
Good to know.
So, and that was an unofficial, and I made that understood to them. That was not official action from the entire city board. That was just me calling. So.
Well, I believe that we would, I'm going to go ahead and say I've been approached, really pushed. Someone wants to trade that property already and the deed's not even signed. And I think Commissioner Millender may have been approached, I don't know. But I feel like we need to officially notify the school board and let them officially send us a note back or something and say, best of luck with it, whatever. So that we're not accused of already trading or selling property that they have kindly, graciously donated to us to use for cemetery.
This just occurred to me, and maybe this is the way to handle it, is we need to get that legal description straightened out. If we're deeding it back, we don't. If we're going to end up keeping it, which it sounds like that's where this is headed, then we do. So they're going to have to sign a corrective deed on the legal description. And what I can do is I'll certainly talk to their attorney and let me work on that, meaning I'll work on the corrective deed and I will make it clear. I'll mention the conversation, the informal conversation. I'll mention that it came up at this meeting and that if they could, I'll just make the same offer that was made by or talked about with Commissioner Millender, and I'll get something in writing from them, which in addition to the corrective deed, that says they understand that we may not be using the property for cemetery and that, good luck with the property type
Free
thing.
and clear.
Free and clear, yep.
And it has no covenants on
It has none of that now, so yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't expect it, but I'll make
All
sure
right. Okay, that's
we're
good.
covered on that.
All right, so that's, and so Courtney has drawn out, I think we gave, best of my memory, we agreed in principle to give Courtney direction to go ahead and order a survey of some city-owned property, northwest of the cemetery at this time. For those who don't know, how many plots do we have left? 3, 5, or something like
I
that?
think it's 20 altogether, but they're doubles, so maybe 10 or.
That are available to buy? All right.
18 something, not many. And most of the time when people come in and buy, they're not buying a single plot, they're buying a double, or they're buying enough for their family, so they're going quickly.
Usually 4 or 6 at a time, because they want, room for everybody.
So, did you then go ahead and order a
Yes.
Thurman to
Yes.
come?
And this
Okay.
is what we have ordered a survey on.
The red.
Yes, the city already owns this part. We don't own this lot here, but it looks like it's mainly inside the pond.
Okay.
But this is a city street that we could close, and then this is a city street that we could close. And we already own that lot there. So that gives us a pretty good
And
start
do you
on.
know about like how many acres it is roughly?
No idea.
But it is a good amount.
Yeah, that's a good start there. Now, and he's surveying that portion of the city street, but of course, that would have to be abandoned by proper procedures because it is a city-owned street. The alleyway, what about that alleyway there? Because it's going, if the cemetery went on out there to, that's Avenue B, excuse me, First Street.
This would be the alley.
Okay, but
This
what about
here,
over
this
here?
here.
What's on this far east side? West side, excuse me.
This is an alley.
Right, and that's First Street,
This is a road.
Second Street, Second Street. That's a dirt road.
one is 3rd Street, it's just not cut road.
Okay, so what, the alley then, will we have to abandon that portion of the alley or, okay,
The alley and the road.
all right.
So the property on the right at the side there, that existing cemetery
Yes,
property?
yes.
This is what's already
And
existing.
then that's the pond next to it.
Do we think we need a geotechnical?
It's pretty high.
What I would-
I talked to Commissioner Millender about this, is having someone come in and maybe just mulch out a trail so we can see what's back there
Yeah,
for now. Because
Uh-huh.
I think he tried to go out and walk it, but it's very thick.
I did.
well, what do you think about that?
That's what I was thinking, that we spend a few $100s.
Yeah,
And hire a contractor with a mulcher to put us some trails in there and stay well clear of where the property lines are. And just put us some trails through there where we can get in there and see what we have.
Well, they should be marked once we get the survey.
Well, yeah, but I was like, before we get the survey, I was hoping, and I don't know, did Thurman give you an idea about what the timing was on the survey?
No,
Okay.
reach out to them.
Yeah, and was hoping we could go ahead and put someone in there and get some trails opened up where we'd know.
if we could, I'm
Kinda see
okay with
what we
that
got.
if we can stay off the,
Yeah.
property line.
That's right, that's right.
And they do that a lot on wooded lots that are for sale. They just go in
That's
there and
correct.
trailblaze in the middle of the
That's
lot. And I'll remind you that we have funding for that. We have $5,000 in the cemetery reserve. I'll go over it again, and we've got, the CARES Act cemetery line item still has $16,000 in it. And then there's $3,000 that is unallocated, I think, or about 16 still that's unallocated in the CARES Act that we could put towards the cemetery. And we're certainly going to put, I know we all agreed in principle to put money out of the American Rescue Plan Act funding towards a cemetery. So we've got funding for that. We can, should we, the geotechnical takes time as well.
Yeah.
And should we go ahead and order that?
I think it's wise.
Okay.
I mean, I know it's on a hill.
But it does go down.
It does go down, and
In certain places.
I think it would be a smart thing to do.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city administrator to expend up to $750 with a contractor to just put us some trails in there where we can get in there and see what we have.
I'll
May
second
not
that.
take that much, but give her a little leeway.
Mhm. I'll second.
So
I mean,
that's
for-
by Commissioner Millender. It's getting late
Yeah.
for this old lady. And second by Commissioner Brown. You see, the motion's already been made, and now we could amend the motion, because I don't think, but anyway, we've got the motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Brown. Discussion. I don't think $750, I'm afraid that might not be enough.
It wouldn't be to clear the property.
No, but just a trailblaze, I just don't think, because they'll be doing, they got a trip charge, it costs for them to come out, and,
Well, a local contractor, there's a couple of local contractors around here that have those small mulching machines.
my husband
Yeah.
has one.
And who? Your husband?
Yeah, he does.
Well, Greg can do it then.
He's done a lot of volunteer work for this.
But anyway, there's companies that have those small mulching machines, and I haven't talked with them recently to know what their hourly rates are, but a couple of hours in there should be able to open up enough trails for us to halfway tell what we can see.
Put the thing back up, the map back up there, Miss Courtney, thank you.
And if you
So-
want to spend more money on it, because it's gonna have to be cleared anyway if we
Yeah.
utilize it.
Should we up
But
it to
I-
1,000?
That's what I would do. I would like to come down off of Gray Avenue, come on down to where they think that the road is there. Is that B? That's Avenue B there, isn't it? Yes, it is Avenue B, because
Yeah.
that's Avenue C. Come on down and try to go on Avenue B some, and maybe up a little bit in that one lot up there.
That's right.
Eventually, I think as a courtesy, we need to notify the property owners, if it looks like we're really gonna move forward with this, that the adjacent property owners, we might have to consider a privacy fence along that way to make the cemetery nice.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we want it to be nice. So,
When we get a good look at it, we may even consider a wooded buffer.
yeah, if we have enough room.
That's right.
If we have enough room.
I'd suggest making the road follow the pond too, because it's gonna be wet down there. I mean, you might not be able to plant too many close to the water.
Yeah.
Just to give some ideas, this should be a 60 to 80-foot road, and this one as well, so, I mean, this should be 60 foot. So that'll give you an idea of how much.
That's a
But
lot of
I think Greg was talking about making the access road down, follow the pond, and if it gets flooded, it won't be, people won't float around or anything, it would be the road that gets flooded. So,
You don't want people floating around.
no, we don't want people to float. And so, in the other cemetery, the other land, we had discussed briefly about a mausoleum, and that might be something that we could do
And I think that's what
Russell's
Okay.
got some information.
sometime in the future, just even a small one that
That-
holds, 200, 300, 400, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people though, 400. But 100 would be, and that would last 100 years
Yeah,
probably.
yeah,
Well, you'd be hard pressed to get them in 100 now.
Okay, so I think you can just go ahead and skip to the third slide. Yeah, all right. So we just looked at a couple options, like above ground, a small individual mausoleum, like one crypt that's about 17,000. A double stacked would be 25,000. It's a pretty significant.
Is that a single or a double?
That's a double. So it's pretty significant cost.
So they're sleeping double in a single
No.
bed.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
can tell it's getting real late now.
Oh, my Lord.
That's just the crypt. I mean,
Okay,
that's not
that's
the
just the
land,
crypt.
that's not anything else. And then option B, we looked at Columbaria, which that's just for holding ashes.
That's what I
And
was thinking.
okay, so those are they hold ashes there, and there's a lot of variations here that you can do. That one in the top left is $4,500, and it's got 48 units, niches there they call it. So a typical niche would sell for $300. So the city would expend money for the columbaria, sell for $4,500, sell each niche for $300. That's $14,400 in revenue. So you got a net of $9,900. And it's just a.
And how many does that hold? I mean,
The top one there is 48.
So people could actually buy one unit for their whole family or something like
Yeah.
that if they wanted.
Yeah.
That's what I was picturing when we were talking about
Mhm.
this.
And then there's all kinds of options out there. The one in the top right is, that's a ground level type style unit.
One on the top left is very similar to the one out north of Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Meadowwood or Meadowbrooks. Yep.
On Timberlane.
On
Yeah.
Timberlane, that's
Yeah.
correct. Yep.
Yeah.
But I think most people choose cremation because of the cost.
Yeah.
So I think that's the.
But it's only $300.
Right, that's what I'm saying, if the other side, the other one,
Yeah, that's.
they don't choose it because, most of them, it's the cost.
Yeah.
Right.
Are the people that are buying plots, are they being cremated and being put in those plots, or, that wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Not most of them. Most of them are traditional.
Most of them are traditional burial, yeah.
Now, are you okay, Mr. Adlerstein? You're not going to put my last quote in there in the paper, okay?
He already has.
Well, I was thinking about, but I'm sure it's expensive, a mausoleum that held, several, a tall
Okay.
building.
Right.
Did you
Now
look at that?
those, I did look at those. Those are really expensive. Let's see, I think a 32 crypt one is like $250,000.
Oh, my goodness.
These ones are,
I think the cheapest one I saw was about 150,000.
I don't think that would be.
Yeah, that's a good question.
No.
I didn't look into that. I don't know.
Well, the return on the investment, are we getting into the cemetery business or what here? But the little niche thing, that's a good idea. I like that.
The maintenance, that's the other thing. The city does, we have, my understanding, I've seen this in other jurisdictions, but the city has to do the maintenance essentially forever, right? It falls on us. Some of the folks will keep up their own, but we have to do it forever. And when you talk about a $250,000 crypt, which I know is probably not even an option, I can't imagine like re-roofing it and doing this and doing that. It would be like a small house that we would have to take
And you'd
care
have
of
to have
forever.
lighting around it.
And after
maybe
people
a
buy them,
bench.
your sunk cost. And whereas obviously, because I remember I brought it up, I know it's not popular, but the columbaria, that's the easiest, right? You would pressure wash them down and mow in between them and pavers or whatever.
And we
It's
do
easy.
have a lot of people in the area are cremated because of the cost of a regular traditional
That's
burial.
correct. And that, to me, that's interesting, is one of the columbariums. Is very interesting because I believe it would be utilized.
I do too.
And it's within, the cost of it is within reason that we might be able to do. And just start it.
Yep.
And see how it goes.
If there's an appetite for it.
Yeah, see how it goes, yeah.
And you could just, like you're saying, put it on the new area we're talking about opening up.
Yeah,
Just put
or
a
we might
little
even
section for
be
that.
able to, yeah, I was about to say, we might be able to find a space to put one in the old area even.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do that and start out even. So, and you know, we did talk about, we all like a gazebo, and that's something that we can, you know, maybe
yeah.
see if
It
we've
could-
got enough land to do that. A nice gazebo to hold the services in and out of the bad weather, hot sun, whatever.
I think we have some good options here to look
Okay.
at.
Yeah, I'm glad this wasn't
Thank you,
$1
Russell.
million.
Yeah. All right, so is this another item then that we'll be tabling until we find out? How about we table it until we
Well,
get
do we
the,
want to do the trail?
oh, trail, yes, we've got that 700, thank you for reminding me. We were in discussion, $750. Greg, you think that's enough money? He does that kind of
If
work.
you're talking about just like a walking trail, like a walking path, or are you talking about that big machine that, you know, eats up trees practically?
That big machine, Greg, if you and I are on the same page, he's not gonna make anything but a walking trail. It's only 6 foot wide, and that's the cutter head size, 5.5 to 6 foot. And that's basically what he's gonna do, not ask him to cut down any large trees, just to cut down the brush underneath the large trees.
Go
and
around
make
the
some
tree.
paths through there where we can see what we have. Courtney, are you satisfied with that?
I don't know how much it costs, but I'll ask them.
I'll guess probably about 150, 200 an hour. That's guessing.
I mean, I'll get some prices.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got a motion to let her go ahead and get that done up to $750. So if,
If it doesn't work, we can figure it out in next
yeah, or
month.
if it costs more, tell them to do $750 worth and then,
Stop.
yeah, and then, okay.
Well,
All
I
right.
mean, you know, we can change that figure. That was just a guess of mine right now. I don't have anything to base it on. But if you guys are more comfortable with adding more money to it, I'll modify my motion.
Well, then I would say $1,000.
Do 1,000.
All right.
I'll modify my motion.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna go, and this is not the correct way to do the
I know,
agenda,
I know.
I mean, the,
But
can't
it's
even
late.
think of what you call it, amend a motion, amend a motion. I know it. So he's changing it to $1,000,
delirious.
and and Commissioner Brown agrees to it. Is that all right
Amended
with
my
y'all?
motion.
Okay, so that's Commissioner Melander and Commissioner Brown, $1,000 to Trailblaze. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. And what, we'll have it, we're gonna get it Trailblaze, so we can all take a walk on there if we want to. Meanwhile, we'll wait till we get the, survey back, and we'll put it back on the agenda when we have the survey. Is that all right with you all?
Yeah.
Okay, all right then. I beg your pardon, I know it.
It's Mr. Frank. Yep.
So, anyway, personally, I had dedicated this meeting to Mr. Mathis because he does not like long meetings, and I had already dedicated it to him.
Well, he's trying to know if we can
He's cussing us from the heavens.
Second.
Okay,
That way Frank would do it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, so we have yes, do we have a second?
Second.
Wait, we already got a motion and a second over here.
Okay, I
Okay.
didn't hear
Go with
Melander.
whatever's faster.
All right, and that motion is by Commissioner Walden, second by Commissioner Melander. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? And that motion carries.